Hey there everybody and welcome. Today I will be presenting a tutorial for the board game Teotihuacan along with an explanation of how the solo game works specifically, and then I'll be following that up with a complete solo playthrough. So this is going to be a big video. Well, first of all, as you can see, I'm not going to be using board game pieces today. In fact, I don't actually own the game yet. It's not on the market, and I haven't been sent an advance copy. And the game isn't expected to ship, I think, until late October or so. I'm going to be demonstrating the game with a program that I wrote. If you've watched any of those previous tutorials or videos, you know I just like doing this for games I really enjoy. This one's no different. This is going to be a definite buy for me once it hits the market. Aside from that, it's certainly easier for me to present a tutorial or a playthrough using my program, and I'm not going to be having to worry about a camera and zooming all over the place and be moving pieces with one hand and a camera with the other. Now, as I normally say up front, I write these programs for my own personal enjoyment. I don't make them available to people, so please don't ask. One exception to that is a program I wrote for Too Many Bones, and that's because Chip Theory Games specifically asked me to make the computer version generally available for free to everybody. So if you're interested in downloading that, you can just head over to the Too Many Bones forum on BGG and find my download and setup instructions in the files area. But I'm not here to talk about Too Many Bones today. I'm here to talk about Teotihuacan. Boy, that's a mouthful. For those of you unfamiliar how the game works, let me get a solo game here underway, and then I'll start with a quick tutorial and overview as to how the game works in general. And when it's the AI's turn, I'll follow this tutorial up with a quick tutorial of how the solo game works, and then finish that up with a complete playthrough solo-wise. Clearly, you're going to get a lot more out of watching the actual playthrough, because then you're going to see the details of what happens and the interactions and how one thing affects other parts of the game. And let me say up front, I am by no means an expert in this game. I played it. Obviously, I had to do a heck of a lot of testing of my program to make sure it works properly, and I still hope it works properly, that I haven't made a mistake in interpreting any of the rules or whatnot. If you see something I've done wrong, either in the general operation of the game or how the solo game works, by all means, please make me aware of it so that I can mention those problems in the show notes and alert people to just those kinds of things where I simply made a mistake or forgot something. The best thing my program can do here is not forget to do something, as long as I programmed it correctly. It's been pretty well debugged, so I'm hoping everything goes smoothly today. Whether or not I actually beat the AI, I can't, I just can't count on that. I'm an introductory player, if you will. And I don't know really just yet how hard it is to beat the AI, how good you have to be. So I just don't know what to expect. And as you can see here, this box right here shows up. These are all the things you can adjust when you're playing a solo game. Now, right now, they're all set to their default values. Generally speaking, I think it says in the solo rules for the game that the lower these numbers are, the easier it is to beat the system. The higher they are, the harder it is. I'm just going in with the default settings, and we'll see from there how this all plays out. Okay, so let me get the game underway. Okay, so wow, here's the board. Obviously, looks overwhelming. So let me start by hopefully breaking this down for you. So in essence, Teotihuacan is a rondel-based game in general. It's played over 3 eras. They're called eclipses in the game, and they're controlled by this white disc and this black disc. Basically, the black disc stays put. This is where the black disc is set for a 2-player game, and when you're playing solo, you're playing 2 players against the AI. Yeah, Teotibot, with bot for short. The white disc moves after each round of play and creeps ever closer to the black disc, and when it meets the black disc, it's the end of that eclipse, and you score for that eclipse. The black disc actually moves up a space so that each subsequent era becomes just a little bit shorter, and to some degree you can actually control how quickly these eras or these eclipses creep up on you. That could be part of the big strategy when you're playing multiplayer. So I said this is a rondel-based game, and the board predominantly, aside if you ignore the pyramid in the center of the board, predominantly we're dealing with 8 different action boards, numbered 1 through 8. They all have a different name. 1 is always here, and 8 is always down here in the bottom. Aside from that, you can use the pre-printed version of the board, or you can shuffle all these actions around and just go with them randomly. And in fact, that's what I have done here. So my program has randomly set out these boards, and I will be describing each board and how they work in general. And as I said, when you actually start watching the playthrough, this will all make a lot more sense. You'll start the game with 3 workers in the form of dice. So you will have 3 dice spread about these action boards. And in general, when you're taking an action, you'll reap a greater benefit from the action the more workers you have present on the space. So if you have 1 worker there, 1 die, you're going to get a small benefit. If you have two workers or 2 dice in the same space at the same time, you're going to get a better benefit. 3, the best benefit of all. Now, there actually is a way to get a 4th worker, although I hesitate to call it workers because this is not a worker placement game. So having a 4th worker is not necessarily a better thing. In fact, you have to pay for your workers. You have to pay their salaries at the end of each eclipse. It does offer more flexibility per se. It'll become more evident as we go along. So, as I said, multiple workers in a single space is the more workers, the better in general, and the higher the workers' values in general, the better, because your workers are going to start at level 1. The die will be set to a 1, and as they muster up or power up or improve over time, they will eventually get to 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and the higher the value, the better. So the best combination of circumstances is multiple workers in the same space, each with a higher value than just 1 or 2. Because the die value that counts when you have multiple workers in a space is the lowest value of all your workers present. Just think that the slowest worker is the guy who slows everybody else down. That's part of the grand strategy of the game, is trying to arrange to have some of your best dice in the same place at the same time to get the best bang for your buck, if you will. Eventually, when a die reaches a value of 6, it will literally die. The worker will die and ascend into whatever spiritual place the people of Teotihuacan ascended to. And there was an actual avenue of the dead that if you study the history of this civilization, they actually had an avenue of the dead, and so there's actually an avenue of the dead track that's represented here, and various god tracks. Just know that in general, dice start at 1, and then eventually creep up to 6. When they literally die, they ascend. They are reborn into new Power 1 workers, and you do get a reward, and you creep up on the Avenue of the Dead track, and that's a good thing too. Okay, there's one single major currency in the game, and that is cocoa, chocolate. In order to take specific actions during the game, you have to pay cocoa. So it's important to keep your level of cocoa up so you have the flexibility to take the actions you need to take when you need to take them. But there will be times that you just can't avoid having to spend a turn just to collect some more cocoa so you can get yourself back in action. When it is your turn, you're going to choose, for most of the time, you're going to choose one available worker, one particular die, and you're going to move it 1 to 3 boards clockwise around. So let's say I had a die on the number 1 board, I could move it here, to here, or to here, and then take some form of an action at that board. Once you've moved that available die 1 to 3 boards clockwise around the rondel, you're going to do one of 3 things. You're either going to collect cocoa. You're going to gain a cocoa actually for every player, including yourself, who was already on that action board before you got there. And then you're going to add 1 to that. So, for example, let's say I go 1, 2, 3. I come to this space, and I'm red, and there was already a red die there, and maybe my green opponent has 2 dice, and my blue opponent has 3 dice, and then I have 1. The number of dice doesn't matter. It's just the number of colors, the number of players, including yourself, that are already there. So in this example that I just gave, where you had 1 die and maybe another player had 2 dice and a third player had 2 or 3 dice, that's still 3. So if you were selecting the collect cocoa action, you'd gain 4 cocoa. You collect 1 for every player that occupies that space before you got there, and then you add 1 to it. The second thing you could do is worship. Now, there's only 5 places, 5 boards where you can worship, and they have a particular kind of space on them. So this is one. Anytime you see this band with this little key symbol, that's a worship space. You can see on this particular board, there's 1 space to worship. On this particular board, there's another space to worship. Same true for this one. Same is true for this one over here. And remember, these boards were randomly distributed by my program, so they're not necessarily going to be in this particular position when you play. And you'll see that this board, called the Palace board, actually has 3 places where you can worship. When you worship, you're actually locking up your worker. He's been placed in a worship space, and he's going to be stuck there and sort of ignored until you unlock him. And you'll find that you can either pay 3 cocoa anytime during the game to unlock all of your locked workers. It's also possible to just say, for this turn, I don't want to pay any cocoa at all, and I just want to freely unlock all my workers, and then it'll move on to the next player. I don't think that's a good deal, actually. I think giving up your action is not necessarily a good thing. So my tendency is to avoid taking that option, and when possible, if I am worshiping, I have enough cocoa that I can pay 3 cocoa just to unlock all my workers, and hopefully I'll have at least 2 workers locked up, so I'll get, again, more bang for my buck. It's also possible that an opponent may kick you out of a worship space, and they're doing you a favor in that case. So with all that talk about locking your workers in worship spaces and unlocking them, let's actually talk about the worship space and what happens when you go there. Now, the palace, again, is a very special case, so let's leave the palace aside for the moment and only consider the 4 other worship spaces. Again, there's 1 here, there's 1 here, there's 1 here on board number 4, and lastly on board number 7. When you worship, you have a choice of either advancing on the temple track shown next to the worship space, or purchasing the discovery tile, or taking the discovery tile if there's no cost to it, or paying 1 cocoa in advance to do both of those things. So again, let's take an example. Let's say I go to board 3, I decide to worship. I put my die in the empty worship space here. I can either advance on the green track. Alternatively, I can pay 1 wood to take this discovery tile. Or I can pay 1 cocoa, advance on the green track, and then pay 1 wood to take this discovery tile. Similarly, if we're down here in the forest board and I decide to worship there, I'm either advancing on the red track, taking this discovery tile because there's no cost associated with it in the top left corner, or paying 1 cocoa to both advance in the red track and to take the discovery tile. If I come over here to blue, same deal. I place my worker in the key space, I advance on the blue track, or I purchase this very rare mask that costs 2 cocoa and a gold. It's pretty expensive. Or I pay 1 cocoa in advance on the blue track, and buy into the discovery tile as well. Obviously, you're only going to do that if you know you have the goods to purchase the discovery tile. The board number 7 is a slightly different case. If I place my worker in the worship space of board 7, I can choose which track I want to advance in. Blue, red, or green, your choice. Or, again, I can purchase, or in this case, take the discovery tile because there's no cost associated with it. Or lastly, pay 1 cocoa, advance on one of the 3 tracks, and take the discovery tile. Palace board, a little bit different. When you come to the palace board, you place your worker in one of these 3 worship spots. If there's an opposing worker there already, you have to pay a cocoa to kick them out. They move into the general area of the board, and then you move into the worship space, and then you evaluate and resolve the worship space you took. So if we went here, we would choose to pay 1 resource of any type to take 2 cocoa as many times as the value of the locked die. Once you've finished the ability of the worship space, then you can pay 1 cocoa to also buy the discovery tile. So it's a little different with the palace board. You go to a worship space first, you evaluate it, resolve it completely, then you choose whether or not you want to pay 1 cocoa to be able to buy, or maybe just take this discovery tile that has no cost associated with it. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, the third option when you reach a board is to take that board's action. And 7 of the 8 boards have a particular special action associated with them. There is no special action associated with the palace board up here, number 1. So when you go to number 1, you're either worshiping or you're collecting cocoa. When you visit a particular action, a board, and you want to take that board's specific action, you have to pay 1 cocoa for each player that was there before you got there, yourself included. And then you take the specific action depending upon the number of workers, what their values are, and so forth. You'll see that throughout the board there are these tiles that are called discovery tiles that actually these are not discovery tiles up here, but these are discovery tiles here, there's discovery tiles here, discovery tiles in the spaces where you can worship. They either offer you a particular benefit that you can use, either immediately or perhaps later when it's a more opportune moment, or they may give you an ability to collect masks. There's a certain level of set collection you can do in this game. There's 7 different masks in the game. Here's an example of one over here on this board on the left. But those are discovery tiles. There's plenty of opportunity to collect them over the course of the game and to reap their benefit. You'll see how those work once we get underway. There are lots of different tracks. There's 3 different temple tracks. A blue track, which generally offers you resources in the game. I mentioned that cocoa is currency. Cocoa is a currency you pay in order to take an action or something related to an action. But the actual building resources are wood, stone, and gold. And these building resources are what allow you to do the specific actions of the particular boards around this rondel. So part of this game involves collecting the right kinds of resources and then spending them at other action boards. The blue temple track is all about collecting resources. And all of these, every time you advance on a space, generally speaking, you're going to be able to, you'll see down here that you can collect 1 of any resource, 1 wood, 1 stone, or 1 gold. When you get higher up on the track, it's 2 of any resources, or maybe it's some victory points or whatever. The red track is mostly victory points. So as you progress up the red track, you're going to get more and more victory points the higher you go. And the green track is mostly about collecting cocoa. So each step gives you an additional cocoa, or maybe 2 cocoa, or 3 or 4. Again, the higher on the track you get. Over here is the Avenue of the Dead track. I made reference to this earlier. Every time you're scoring one of the 3 eclipses, the higher you are on the Avenue of the Dead track, generally speaking, the better. We'll talk more about that later on. And finally, there is a pyramid track that you'll advance on each time you do something to help further build the pyramid, either to add more tiles to it in the center of the board, or to decorate it with decorative tiles around the outside or up the various steps of the pyramid as it gets built up. So each of those things, as you'll soon see, will get you up higher up on the pyramid track, and then during eclipse scoring, the higher you are on the track, the better. If you happen to be the highest on the track, score an additional 4 points during that particular eclipse scoring. But when that eclipse scoring is finished, the pyramid track gets reset. Everybody gets moved back to the bottom. So then you have to prove yourself in the next era that you are going to devote much of your attention to building up the pyramid. Building up the pyramid obviously is a big part of this game, either adding tiles to it or decoration tiles to it. So you'll see that there's going to be a lot of my strategy, at least, is going to be orchestrated around visiting the action boards that I need to be on in order to add more tiles to the pyramid, build it up, get higher on the pyramid track, etc., etc. Board number 1, the Palace action board, involves either worship at one of these 3 worship spaces or collecting cocoa. Beyond that, there is no particular action that you take on that board. When you want to collect wood or stone or gold, then you're going to go to the Forest board, which is number 2. You can see a lot of wood on this board. Or you're going to go to the Stone Quarry board, which happens to be up here in the top right corner, to collect stone. Or you'll go to the Gold Deposits board, which is over here on the far west side, when you want to collect gold. Let's use the Forest board as an example. If you happen to have 1 worker, then you're going to look at this row. If you have 2 workers present, then you're going to look at the second row. And these workers are represented by these squares over here. If you have 3 workers present on the board when you're taking the action, you're going to use the third row. Then, to determine which column, you're going to look at the value of your lowest worker. Is he a 1? Is he a 2? Is he a 4? And that is going to determine which column. And so the intersection of the column and the row is going to determine what kind of benefit you're going to have. So if I happen to have, let's say, 1 worker, value 1 on the Forest board, all I'm going to get out of it is a cocoa, as indicated here, the intersection of 1 worker and a value 1. But if that die happened to be a value 2 or 3, I'm going to get 1 wood. If it happened to be a 4 or 5, I'm going to get 2 wood. Let's say I have 2 workers on the board at the same time when I'm taking the action. And let's say that 1 is a value 4 and 1 is a value 3. Well, in that case, we have 2 workers. The worst worker is value 3, so we're looking in this column. That's going to produce 2 wood. But if I happen to have a 5 and a 4 on the board at the same time, then I'm going to get 3 wood and 2 cocoa. So these bonuses escalate pretty rapidly the more workers you have. Once you've collected either the wood or VP or in some cases cocoa, whatever, or temple advances in some cases on these various collect resources boards, then you're going to either power up one of your workers if you had 1 or 2 workers present on the action board, or you're going to power up twice if you happen to have 3 workers present, or as I described earlier, if you happen to have 4 dice all present on the same board, they're still treated as being 3 workers on the board, and so you're going to be powering up twice in that case. When you power up twice as a result of a certain action, be it collecting wood or stone or gold, then you can either power up the same worker twice, meaning if he was a 1, you can move him up to a 3, or you could power up different dice by 1 value each. So maybe a 2 goes to a 3 and a 1 goes to a 2, or whatever the case may be. So those are the resource collection boards: the forest, the stone quarry, and the gold deposits, where you collect wood primarily, stone primarily, or gold primarily. Over here is the alchemy board. This is board number 5, happens to be over here on the east side in this game. And this is all about paying some amount of gold, it's 1 or 2 gold generally speaking, to get some ongoing ability in the game. For example, this one here says that every time you land on or move a worker over the palace action board, because you're coming around here and you collect 1 cocoa. So that's an ongoing benefit. Every time you land on or pass board number 1, any particular worker happens to do that, you collect a cocoa. So most of them, I think, have to do with specific boards. You can see that this one has to do with board number 1, the palace board. This one has to do with boards 2, 3, and 4, the ones I just described, the forest, the stone quarry, and the gold deposits. And as you can see, this particular technology says anytime you perform that forest, stone, or gold action board action, you gain 1 additional wood, stone, or gold, respectively. So that's always a good thing. So buying into these technologies early and often is generally speaking a pretty good thing, because over the course of the game, the benefit that you get out of it is going to definitely climb. If you do visit this action board and you do buy a technology, as I said, you either have to pay 1 gold, or in the case of most of the tiles on this side, you have to pay 2 gold, as you can see in the top left corner of the tile. Then once you have that, you put a little marker on the technology tile. You don't actually collect the tile, you just put one of your markers on it to indicate that you now own that technology, and you just have to remember to make sure you don't forget to give yourself the benefit when that particular set of circumstances arises. Multiple people obviously can own the same technology, and in fact, if you add your marker to a technology tile where other players are already present, they are going to score 3 points. I should also point out that when you do add your marker to one of these technology tiles, when you take this action, you also advance once on the corresponding track shown next to the tile. So if you take either this tile or this tile, you're going to be advancing once on the blue track. Take this tile or this tile. I say take, if you add your technology marker to either of those 2 tiles, you're going to be advancing once on the red track. And finally, if you add your marker to either of these tiles, you'll be advancing once on the green track. When you finish your alchemy action, you power up 1 worker on that particular board. If there's only 1 worker, then that's the worker that powers up once. If you have multiple workers, then 1 or 2 of them will, well, I'm sorry, no, you'll always power up once on this particular action board, so one of your dice that's present is going to get bumped up by 1. The nobles action board, where are you? Down here, you pay 2 wood, a flat 2 wood, and you're going to collect some amount of VP. The more workers, the better. So if you have 1 worker present, you're either going to collect 3, 2, or 1 VP, depending upon how many other buildings got built up on this board. Essentially, when you take this particular action, buildings that are currently stored on this track here get moved from the far left to occupy a space on this board. So if I come here with 1 worker, I would take the first building in this row, move it over, and cover the first empty space in the first row and score that number of victory points. So if I was the first one to get here, then this building gets transferred to this space and I score 3 points for my 2 wood. Obviously, better to have more workers present. If I had 2 workers present and I did that, I would get and I was the first person to come here, I'd be getting 5 VP. If I was the second person, I would be getting 4 VP or 3. And then if I happen to be here with 3 workers, or as I described earlier, 4 workers present, then I'm going to collect either 7, 6, or 5 victory points. I should also note that, remember earlier I said the higher you are up on the Avenue of the Dead track during Eclipse scoring, generally speaking, the better. But how you score for the Avenue of the Dead track depends upon how many buildings are present in this row. The more, the better. For example, if I'm on the second step of the Avenue of the Dead track during scoring and no buildings have yet been moved over to the Nobles board, here board number 6, then I'm going to be scoring 5 VP times 2. So if I'm on the second step of the Avenue of the Dead track, I'm going to score 10 points during that Eclipse scoring. But if this worker got removed, it's still going to be 5. If this worker gets removed, now it's down to 4, so I'm only going to be collecting 8 VP. So not only is it a function of how high you are on the Avenue of the Dead track, it also depends up on how many people have come here to perform this Nobles action to collect VP, and therefore resulted in more and more of these buildings getting moved away from this track. The multiplier becomes that much lower, to the point where if you're down toward the bottom of the track, you can see the multiplier is only 1 VP for every step you are up on the Avenue of the Dead track. Once you're finished getting your points from board number 6, as with many of the other boards I've just talked about earlier, if you had 1 or 2 workers present, you get to power up once. If you had 3 workers present, you get to power up twice. When you're finished with an alchemy action, you only have the choice of powering up 1 worker. But in boards, and that's board number 5, but in boards number 2, 3, 4, and now 6, you will be powering up once. If you have 1 or 2 workers present, you'll be powering up twice if you have 3 or more workers present. Okay, up on the decorations board, you're going to be placing these tiles that have 2 icons on them around the steps of the pyramid. They'll start on the outside ground floor of the pyramid, and then once the tile is on that ground floor, either on the north, the east, the south, or the west, then you'll move up to the second level, and then possibly the third level, and even beyond that, to add more and more of these decorative tiles to the pyramid. You have to pay 1 to 3 gold to do this. You're only going to be able to place one of these tiles. The more workers you have, the less you have to pay. So if you have 1 worker present, you're going to be paying 3 gold. If you have 2 workers present, you're paying 2 gold to do this action. If you have 3 workers present, or 4, you're going to be paying only 1 gold to perform this actions. You're all doing the same action. It's just a matter of how many gold you're paying up front to take that action. How much you score depends on how many icons you match. Now you're going to get an automatic score of 3 victory points, as indicated here in the top right corner. And then to the extent you match icons, when you place these over icons that already exist on the board, then you're going to score an additional point for each match. Not only that, there's 4 icons that can possibly be on these decoration tiles. 3 of the 4 have a color associated with them. There's a mask, which is red. There's another mask, which isn't showing here, which is green. And then there's finally a what looks like a totem pole sort of thing, is blue. So let's say I take this tile with the 2 blue totems and I put it here on this space. Obviously, one of the blue totems is going to cover up a totem. So if I cover up a totem with a blue totem because of a decoration, then I'm going to score an extra point because of the match, and I'm also going to get a free advance on the blue temple track because I'm putting blue on top of something else, but matching the icon. If I put a red mask on top of another mask, be it red or not, I'm going to be getting another point and an advance on the red track. And then if I happen to be placing a tile, a decorative tile that happens to have a green mask icon on it, then I'm going to get an advance on the green track. You can see this fourth symbol, which I call a scroll. I'm not sure what you would call it. It's just some sort of icon. I have to give it a name, so I call it a scroll. It has no color associated with it, so you might get an extra point by matching it, but you will never get a temple advance because it's not red or green or blue. Finally, when you're finished with your decoration action, you're going to power up one of the workers on that action board. And then lastly, but not least, the construction board number 8, which is always down here in the south of the main board. So 8 and 1 never get moved from their respective positions. Everything else can be randomized. So when you come here, this is all about placing tiles to build up the pyramid. There are 3 tiles to choose from. The more workers present, the more tiles you can place. So 1 worker allows you to place 1 tile. Two workers allow you to place 2 tiles. 3 workers allow you to place all 3 of these tiles somewhere on the pyramid. How many points you score is a function of what level of the pyramid you're adding the tile to. For that bottom level, you're going to get 1 VP for placing a tile, plus 1 for every match. Every time you put a colored icon on top of a matching icon, you're going to get a temple advancement, just in the same way you got it up here on the decorations action board. Every time you place one of these tiles on the pyramid, you're going to advance on the pyramid track. So if you happen to have 3 workers present, you're going to get 3 advancements on the pyramid track. You're going to score a heck of a lot of points, as many as somewhere between 1 and 11 victory points per tile placed. Again, depending upon what level it's placed on and how many icons you matched. And along with that, as I said, if some of the icons are colored, you're going to get temple advancements, which might give you even more points. Now, when you're placing decorations, anytime you're placing a totem on the decoration tile, it's always going to be blue. If it's a mask like this, it's always going to be red. If it's a mask like this guy, it's always going to be green, other than this scroll icon, which is always going to be neutral, no color. But as you can see on these tiles for the pyramid, the totem on all 3 of these tiles happen to be black and white. So you may get an extra point if you arrange the tile in the right way and orient it to get a match of a totem over a totem, but you'll never get an advance on the blue track. You have to get a tile that actually has a blue totem on it, like this tile here that's already been pre-placed on the pyramid as part of the setup. As you can see, this tile has a red mask on it as part of the setup. So pyramid tiles are a little different. Sometimes you get colors, sometimes you don't get colors on the icons. So generally speaking, the more colors, the better it is, because you're not only matching icons, but you're getting temple advancements along with those icons as well. When it comes to powering up workers, all you have to remember is that both boards 5 and 7 are the ones that only allow you to power up once when you're done with the main action. Every other board, not counting board 1 because that doesn't have a main action, but every other board, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8, all allow you to power up once with 1 or 2 workers, or twice if you have 3 or 4 or more workers on the board. Alright, to summarize Eclipse Scoring, I will, as I said, your position on the Avenue of the Dead track times where this, how many buildings have been removed from this row here and been moved to Action Board 6. That's going to dictate how many points you get out of the Avenue of the Dead track. When you're doing the scoring, the highest player or players on the pyramid track are going to score 4 bonus points. And then beyond that, all players are going to score either 4, 3, or 2 victory points for every step they've already progressed up the track. So In the first Eclipse scoring, if you happen to have built 3 pyramid tiles over that course of that era, then you will be scoring 3 times 4 or 12 points. In the second round of scoring, you're only getting 3 points per step. So if I was on the third step in the during the second Eclipse scoring, I'm going to get 9 points. And then it's only 2 points per step in the third era. So building early and often, I guess, is the key. And then on this particular action board, you're going to power up once or twice, depending upon how many workers are present. So here we are at the beginning of the game. Technology tiles have been chosen at random. I think there's actually 9 tiles in the game. 6 of them are used for every particular game, so there's a certain amount of variety there. There's 3 particular tiles that are placed here on the palace board for worshiping. Tiles on that particular board will be different. There are 15 different decoration tiles in the game, so which ones come out when will matter. And there are 32 pyramid tiles in the game. And depending upon the number of players, as I said, the pyramid is initialized in a certain fashion as described in the rule book. This is the fashion for a 2-player game. So you can see that there are 2, 4, 8, 12 tiles on the first level, I guess you could say, or ground level, which however you want to look at it. And there are 2 tiles that have been placed on top of those on the second level. And that's a particular arrangement. So the only thing that's randomized there are which tiles came out. And of course, all these tiles, when placed on the pyramid, can be oriented in one of 4 ways, depending upon how you rotate them. So you have free reign over that as well, especially when you're trying to match up these icons. There's 54 discovery tiles in the game, lots of masks, lots of special bonuses to collect resources or cocoa, other kinds of special abilities you can gain that will give you some advantage in the game. So they're all spread about. And in many ways, this is a very point salad kind of game, because where you go, what action you take, what tiles you collect, in large part can dictate how much, what you're going to get out of the game, how many points you're going to score. So you could go for a mask collection strategy. You can go for a discovery tile collection strategy. You can go for these tiles up here at the top of the tracks. If you happen to reach the next to the last space on any one of these tracks, you're going to get some end-game scoring ability out of that. And there's a number of those different tiles, so there's a lot of replayability in this game. And as I said, of course, all these action boards can be randomly placed out as well, except for board number 1 and board number 8. So here we are at the beginning of this 2-player game against the Teotihuacan. I'm just going to call him the bot from now on, or maybe I'll refer to him as the AI, whatever. But we'll talk more about how the solo game works when we get to the bot's turn. But when you're playing a solo game, you're always the first player. You're always going to go first. And if you're not playing the beginner's game, you're going to be randomly dealt four of these starting tiles, and you choose 2 of them to determine what resources, how much cocoa, generally speaking, what you start with in the game. There are lots of different things you can start with. You could start with wood or stone or gold or cocoa. You could start with a technology. You could start with temple advancements. You could start with a discovery tile, a power-up, whatever the case may be. So you certainly have control over how you start the game. You choose 2 of these tiles and get whatever they offer. Not only that, but every tile has 2 numbers on them at the bottom of the tile, and where you place your starting workers is limited to 3 of those numbers. What 2 start tiles do I want to start with? I usually like to start with an assortment of resources, and I see that this one not only offers me a building tile, I get the benefit of the first building tile on the Alchemy board. I'm thinking I want to grab maybe this one and this one to get the best assortment of resources. So I'm going to basically get the first space, the first technology, which is going to be this one that says every time I land on or pass the palace board with one of my workers, I'm going to get a free cocoa. I'm going to get 2 gold. I am going to get, from this tile, I'm going to get 3 cocoa, 2 wood, and 3 stone. And then I'm going to have to place my starting workers on either boards 4, 5, 3, or 8. 3 of those numbers for each one of my starting dice. So let me start by selecting this tile. So one of my markers goes here. I get an advancement on the blue track because my marker was placed on this tile, which is associated with a blue track advancement. So I not only get the benefit of the technology, but I get the benefit of getting bumped up once on the blue track. And that first step gives me one of any resource. So right now I get to choose. Do I want to get a wood, a stone, or a gold? Well, I'm getting 2 gold. I'm getting 2 wood, 3 stone. I think I'm going to grab a wood from this blue temple advancement. So again, I got this tile. My marker was placed on it. It's associated with the blue track, so I advanced once on the blue track. The first step gives me one of any resource, so I'm electing to take a wood. Now I'm going to collect my 2 gold from this tile. I have this alert on so that it's going to be easier for you to see, because once a lot is happening on in this game, a lot of things start triggering one after the other. One thing might trigger a temple advancement, which will trigger VP or resource or cocoa gain. So lots of different things will happen. So I'm making it easier by turning these alerts on so you can clearly see what's happening when, and you can that'll at least help you to follow along. When I'm playing the game, I turn those off. So I'm going to collect this tile. This is going to give me 3 cocoa, 2 wood, and 3 stone. And then the magic numbers, what was it? I don't remember the first pair of numbers, but my program certainly will. So here they are. I get to place my starting 3 workers, all power 1, on either boards 4, 5, 3, or 8. So I would like to spread them out. I would also like to get a construction action very early. So that means I want to place one of my dice, because I now have resources here, so I can use those to build up the temple, the pyramid, and I would want to place one of my dice on one of these boards, so I think I'm going to place one of my dice on the 3rd board. I'll place one of my dice, and then beyond that, I'll just spread them out. So I'll place another die, another worker on the board number 8, and then beyond that, I have a choice of boards 4 and 5, so I'm going to put my 3rd worker over here on the board number 4. Now, a lot of other things have happened. First of all, when you're playing a solo game against the bot starts on the first space of each one of these tracks. So while I start on the 0 space, except for this blue advancement I got because of this technology tile, the bot starts automatically on the first space of the track, just because he cheats. He gets a leg up. He gets 1 space advancement automatically on the Avenue of the Dead track, so he gets a little head start there as well. And then his workers all get placed on particular action boards wherever they might be. So he starts with a number 2 on the gold board. He starts with a number 1 in the temple space of board number 7. He starts with a power 2 die over here on board number 8 and a power 2 on number 6. So he has all 4 of his dice on the board to begin with. 1 of them in a worship space, 3 of them not. Those are all the things the bot starts with. Beyond that, because you're playing a 2-player game, you take the other colors in the game, and you take 3 dice of each one of those neutral colors and you randomly place them on the board based on some start tiles that you happen to draw. They are placed randomly just to add some additional spice to increase the cost of visiting a particular space at a particular time. Remember, so coming here, if I was doing a collect cocoa action, I'd be collecting 4 cocoa, 1 for every color present, plus an extra one. But if I wanted to come here and take the gold action, the gold deposits action, I would have to pay 3 cocoa, again, 1 for every color present on the board, in order to take that action. So this is it's expensive action to take, and lo and behold, I wanted to use this die to come down here and take a pyramid action right in the beginning, and it's turned out to be expensive as well. Partially because I put my one of my dice there, and maybe in hindsight, maybe that wasn't a good idea. One of the solo dice got, the bot's dice got placed there, and then randomly this neutral green die got placed here. So that's going to be an expensive action, but I think I'll still take it. I do have 4 cocoa. It's going to cost me 3 cocoa to come down here and perform this action. So let's do that. So I'm going to take this red die. Remember, I choose a worker, and I move it 1 to 3 boards clockwise around the board. So I'm going to take this worker and move once, twice, 3 times to come down to board number 8. Now it's showing me I can either come down here to collect cocoa. I can't come down here. Normally there might be a worship option, but there is no worship space on board number 8, so that's not an option. And my third option is to pay 3 cocoa to take the main action, and that is what I'm going to do. So again, it's 3 cocoa because before I even arrived, there were 3 different colors present on board number 8. So that's why the price is 3 cocoa. Then my other die gets moved down here to this board, and I take my action. Now, because I have 2 workers present, I could potentially place 2 tiles. The problem is I don't have enough resources to place 2 tiles, because every placement, the placement cost depends upon what level you're building on. It's always going to be a flat 2 stone, and that's what's effectively limiting me here, because I only have 3 stone available, so I'm going to be able to only build 1 pyramid tile because it's going to have a cost of 2 stone. Beyond that cost of 2 stone, how much wood you have to pay depends upon what level of the pyramid you're building on. If you're building on the ground floor, you're not paying any additional wood. If you're building 1 level up from that, you're paying 1 wood, so it's 2 stone and 1 wood. If you're up to the 2nd level, you're paying 2 stone and 2 wood. If you're up to the 3rd level, you're paying 2 stone and 3 wood. So having the 2 extra dice, maybe this wasn't a good idea to have that other red die there, because it increased the cocoa cost of taking this action, and I'm not getting any benefit from it because I didn't get enough stone. So this is part of the reason why you're seeing that maybe I'm not as good a player as I haven't had enough practice to get good at this game. But be that as it may, I'm going to place 1 tile, and I do have enough to place on the 2nd level. I can't place on the 3rd level because I don't have this is a pyramid, of course, so in order to build up on the 3rd level, you have to have the right tiles underneath it to support that level, that tile. But I can certainly build up onto the 2nd level by putting a tile here or here, for example. So I'm looking at these 3 tiles. I would like to build on the 2nd level because that's going to score me 3 points plus 1 point per icon matched. So I'm looking where I can place, and if I can also match up this green mask with a corresponding mask on the pyramid. So I'm actually looking at this tile here. So if I select this, let's see, if I rotate it like this. I could place it here. So where you see the black outline spaces, those are the valid placements where I can place. By placing this tile here, I'm going to be matching this icon. And so I'm going to get a point for this guy and an advancement on the green track. I'm matching a scroll with a scroll. I'm matching a mask with a mask. So I'm going to get 3 extra points. So I'm going to get 3 points for building on the what I call the second level, and I'm going to get 3 points for matching 3 icons, and I'm going to get an extra advancement on the green track, which is going to get me an extra cocoa over here. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 1 extra cocoa for advancing to the first step on the green track. So in general, I think this is going to give me 6 points, which is pretty good for my first move of the game. So this tile is going to be placed on this space, and I'm going to say right here, I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking for the optimal move. So that's part of the reason why I think I may lose this game against the AI, but so be it. Obviously, I have to keep this moving along. So this tile's been rotated into position to be placed here. I'm matching 3 icons, one of them getting covered up with a green icon, so I'm going to get an advancement of the green track. Total of 6 points. It's going to cost me 2 stone and 1 wood for building on this level, onto the second level. And I should get 6 points out of it. So 2 stone get deducted, 1 wood gets deducted. I get an advancement on the green track, which gives me a cocoa. And then finally I get the points, which should be 6 points. Yeah, 6 points, plus an advancement on the pyramid track. Plus, because I had 2 workers present, I get to power up one of those workers. Now, my program is saying, hey, you can place another tile if you want to, because I had 2 workers present, but I have to click cancel because I don't have enough stone to place that second tile. So when this is done, my program is going to then power up one of these workers. And since they're both at level 1, my program will just do it automatically. One of them is going to get bumped up to 2. So I'm finishing my turn here. A 1 worker got bumped up to a 2. Okay, I'm actually back the next day. We're going to take, again, another little break here to talk about how the solo rules work. And this does require a certain amount of advanced understanding because there are terms that are used. The bot does not necessarily behave the way a human player would behave. So it's just important that I go through this so you understand what the particular terms mean, how you resolve them, that sort of thing, because they're going to get called on multiple times throughout the solo play. As you could see, we've set this up for a normal 2-player game, except the bot always starts with 0 cocoa. So here's the bot, 0 cocoa. They start with 2 wood, 2 stone, and 2 gold. Obviously no points. They start, as I mentioned earlier, on the first space of the blue, the red, and the green temple tracks, the first space of the Avenue of the Dead track, but not the first space of the pyramid track. So I completed one of the pyramid tiles in my first turn just a second ago, and that's why I advanced 1 space on the pyramid track. I'm a little bit ahead of black there. They always have a marker on the 3rd technology tile. I got mine from one of the starting tiles, but they always start with theirs on the their marker on this 3rd technology tile. You count the numbering of these tiles from where you see these icons, particularly this single icon. So this would be 1, 2, 3, and then where you see the 2 dice, this would be 4, 5, and 6. When you're setting these up, there is a little number you can see in the corner. This one's number 1. This one's number 5. All of these are sorted in numerical order, in ascending order. So you draw 6 randomly out of the set of 9 technology tiles. You sort them by that number in the corner, and then you lay them out this way so that the lowest number starts up here, then the next one, which is probably a cost of 1 gold, the next one, which is probably a cost of 1 gold, and more often than not, the ones that end up over here all cost 2 gold. The bot starts, I mentioned, with one dedicated worshiper at a power of 1, and they start in the decorations action board. So here is a worker, a permanent worshiper in the worship space of the decorations board. And then the bot also starts with a power 2 worker in the gold area, which is right here, a power 2 worker on the nobles, which is over here, and a power 2 worker on construction, which is right here. Normally when you're playing this game, multiplayer, and a player removes one of these pyramid tiles, or maybe 2 of them, or removes one of these decoration tiles, and places a new decoration or a new pyramid tile on the board somewhere and as part of their main action, when you're finished, you basically fill in the empty spaces with a new tile. When you're playing the solo game, however, you do something a little more traditional, and that is you slide the tiles to the left. So if I took this pyramid tile and placed it, and that was done, I was done, then this one would slide into the empty space, this one would slide over into that empty space, and the new tile would get added to the end. Similarly, all of the decoration tiles would slide up toward the top, and the new one would be added at the end. I did mention that this worker for the bot is a permanent worshiper, will always be in a worship space, but there may be times when you bump it out of a worship space because you want to worship in that space. So you just knock it out and have to pay 1 cocoa to do that. If the permanent worshiper for the bot gets kicked out of its space, it simply moves to the next worship space that's free in clockwise order, not counting the palace board. The general rule here is that the bot workers and worshippers will never ever be on the palace board. They will always ignore it and skip past it. So if this guy got bumped, he would move to the next worship space, not counting the palace, which would be this over here on board 3, the stone quarry board. If he got bumped from there, he would then move down to over here on board 2 and occupy this worship space. If he got bumped and went to the next worship space, but that also was occupied, he would skip it and move on to the next one until he found an empty worship space. Now, it's possible, I suppose, that you, as the human player, could have 4 of your workers present, and you happen to put them all into worship spaces, and for the last one, you bumped them out. And so now he has to look for a new empty worship space, but they're all filled up with your workers. So what does he do? He comes back to the decorations board and then bumps you out. Period. So he's going to try to avoid bumping you out in general as he moves and advances to new worship spaces. He's just going to look for an empty one. But if he can't find an empty one, he's going to go back to where he started in the decorations board and just bump you out so he can occupy that space. When the bot is taking actions, he never pays cocoa. He collects cocoa in different ways that are not part of the main rules, but he never spends cocoa to perform a main action. When asked to power up, he always selects the highest valued worker. Let's say that this 2 was a 1 and it was over here, so he had a black 2 and a black 1. If he had to power up as a result of performing that action, he would power up the 2 and make it a 3. And then after that, if he had to do it again, he'd power up the 3 to make it a 4. He always pushes toward ascension very rapidly, because when he ascends a worker, he always scores 5 points. There will be times when you are referred to the highest powered worker. Now, obviously, the highest powered worker is the one with the highest power, but more often than not, there will be a tie. So, for example, right now, there's a tie between this one, and this one. So, for the purposes of the highest powered worker, you break ties by looking at the tied worker who's farthest away from the palace in clockwise order. So I start here, I keep going this way until I find another 2, and lo and behold, this guy is the highest powered worker. If I have to find the lowest powered worker, it works similarly, except I break ties by being closest to the palace board in clockwise order. So while this one is the highest powered worker, this one is the lowest powered worker. Again, that's how you break ties. You don't count the worker in the worship space. He's not a worker, he's a worshiper. There will be another time when you're always asked to advance a worker. That is, advance them as you advance from action board to action board. When you advance a worker, if the worker is a powered 1, 2, or 3 worker, you simply move them to the next action board. From here to here, from here to here, from here to here, from here to here, because the bot always ignores the palace board as if it doesn't exist. But if the die that you're advancing is power 4 or 5, then it actually moves twice. So if this guy was here and he happened to be a 4 or 5, if he was instructed to advance, he would advance here and then immediately advance here. So basically he skips a board. If he were here and he was a power 4 or 5, he would advance not to here, because it doesn't exist, he would advance to here. Alright? So advancing a worker generally means moving him 1 board clockwise, skipping the palace board, but if they happen to be a powered 4 or 5 worker, they actually move 2 boards, not 1 board. Again, ignoring the palace board. When instructed to advance on a temple track, not a specific temple track, but on any temple track, the bot will always choose the temple track that it's highest on, because it wants to get to the top of the track just as much as you do. So if it has a choice, it will always pick the one that already is highest, but not clearly at the top. Let's say he's on the top of the blue track. He's going to ignore him. He can't move anyway. He's going to choose between where he happens to be on the red track versus the green track. If he's ahead on the red track, that's the one he's going to move up on. If there's a tie, then order from left to right, break ties. So right now, all of his discs are in the first space. So if he was instructed right now to advance on any track, the tiebreaker would be blue, because you're always choosing left to right. If instead, for some other reason, he did something that caused red to advance to the second space and his green disc to advance to the second space, then when he had to advance on any track, he'd have to break the tie between red and green. Red would break that tie. When he has to gain a resource, because he advanced on the blue track and it says you gain 1 of any resource, or you gain 2 of any resource. Whenever he's gaining a resource, he always gains the resource that he has the least of. Again, in case of a tie, he prioritizes gold over stone over wood. So right now, if he had to gain a resource, he would take another gold. If he had to gain 2 resources, the first one would be a gold, the second one would be a stone. As I mentioned earlier, when a bot worker dies and ascends, then the bot advances 1 on the Avenue of the Dead track as usual. The worker gets reset to a 1 and moved to the palace board as usual. But when given the choice of all the various rewards, which we'll see soon enough, he always chooses to earn 5 victory points. The bot never gains or uses discovery tiles, except when he's collecting masks, and those he does keep. So he does keep masks, but any other time he has to choose or take a discovery tile, he just doesn't. If he advances on a track, let's say he advanced on the green track to this major space, he would ignore all the tiles and basically do the action of the underlying pre-printed space. So if you remove all these these discovery tiles, you'll find that there's simply a 1 cocoa symbol underneath here, just like there is here, so he would take the 1 cocoa. If he advanced from here to here, then he would ignore all the discovery tiles, and instead he would take the underlying pre-printed value, in this case 2 victory points. Over here, in this case, it would be 1 of any resource. While he places markers on technology tiles, he never uses the abilities of the technology tiles. So you can ignore having to worry too much about the bot player. There's enough to worry about him as it is. Way too much overhead. Okay, I think I covered the principal rules. Highest powered worker, lowest powered worker. He always powers up the highest value worker when given a choice. He doesn't pay cocoa to perform his actions. He gives priority to the temple tracks that he's highest on. Breaks that tie from left to right. When choosing a resource, he always takes the one he has the least of. Breaks ties in order of gold, stone, and then wood. Alright, so those are all the things you have to know going in to play a solo game. Now, how does the bot actually decide what he's going to do when it's his turn? Well, he has a set of 7 action tiles that are of his own. These are kind of somewhat modified action tiles, but they all kind of have similar names to what you're used to. So there's the Nobles tile that also can do a wood action. There's the Construction tile that can also do a stone action. The Decorations tile that can also do a gold action if necessary. He has a Worship action tile. He has an Alchemy action tile where he goes for a Technology tile. He has a special one that says try to collect masks, and then he has another one called Mastery, which is sort of a generic do anything that you're already good at, do it again. So you take these 7 action tiles, and not surprisingly for this game, you arrange them in a pyramid. So we take 6 of them drawn randomly. We arrange them in a pyramid, 3 on the bottom, 2 in the second level, 1 on top. And then this other one is sort of set aside. Going to be used momentarily. There are also 2 directional tiles like these. So each side has a picture of this image on one side and a picture of this image on the other side. So these are randomized, they're flipped around, moved around, and then one is placed above the other. So you may end up, as I did randomly here, with one pointing up and to the right and one pointing up and to the left. Or you might end up with 2 pointing up and to the left, or 2 pointing up and to the right. Then he's going to roll 2 dice. Any 2 dice that are not being used in the game. And he's going to come up with a number of 2 through 12. And depending upon that number is going to dictate which action he is going to take. If he rolls a 2 or a 3, he's going to take the construction action, the one that's in the bottom left-hand corner. It happens to be the construction action right now, but it could have just as easily been any one of the other ones. If he rolls an 11 or a 12, he's using this action tile over here on the far right, bottom right. As you can see, the odds of using either one of these tiles is not particularly good. If he rolls a 4 or a 5, he's going to be using this action tile. If he rolls a 9 or a 10, he's going to be using this one. If he rolls a 6, 7, or 8, odds are pretty good that that's the one he's going to use. He's going to be choosing the top tile. So in that case, it would be the Alchemy action. So you have a rough idea of what move you expect him to take based on the odds of the dice, but sometimes he'll surprise you. Notice no numbers associated with this tile in the bottom center. You do know for a fact that when it's his turn, he is not going to be doing this particular action, nor is he going to be doing the action of the tile that's been set aside. So you know that he's going to be doing one of these 5 actions, most likely the top one, second most likely one of these, least likely one of the ones in the corner. So you roll the dice, you figure out which action he's going to take, you remove that tile from the pyramid, and then you follow the instructions, and then you rebuild the pyramid. And this is how you rebuild the pyramid. This is a little bit later, but I'm going to describe it now because it's going to happen somewhere down the road, and probably it's just going to happen on its own. So if, let's say, he is going to take the top action, he takes the alchemy tile, takes it away, leaving an empty space. And then, depending upon this tile, this directional tile that happens to be on top, he's either going to move this tile, in this case, from here to here to fill the space, or he's going to be using this tile if this happened to be up there. Again, the top tile dictates which underlying tile moves up to fill the empty space. In this case, for the first fill-in, I'm moving the tile from the bottom left to the upper right. So this tile goes away, decorations tile would fill the space. But now we have to fill the decorations tile. So you use the second directional tile to decide which one fills that space. In my example, right now, it's the one to the bottom right of the empty space. So I'd move the mastery tile into the empty space and decorations. All right? Then when you're, and now if you may only need to use one of these directional tiles. For example, if he chooses one of these actions, then you only use the top one. And in the case of, if he happened to roll a 4 and took decorations, my top one says that this tile, construction, moves into the empty space. If he randomly rolled a 9 and took the worship tile out of the mix, then this directional tile tells me that the mastery tile would move up and fill the space. So when you're done filling up spaces, you're going to be left with an empty space on the bottom row. That empty space gets filled by this tile, by the one that was set aside. So if this was empty, that's where that would go. And it has some small chance of being chosen next turn. If this was empty, it would move down into that space and has a small chance on 11 or 12 of being used next time. If it happens to be that it moved down into the bottom middle space, then we know for a fact that another turn is going to go by and he is not going to perform that action. He will not perform an action until a tile ends up in one of these magic spaces. And as you can see, using this method, there's some predictability as to which action he's going to take, but he is going to get every action a turn over time, because they are each, as an action gets taken, it gets moved off into the ether, set aside. There's no chance that any one of his actions is taken back to back. Alright, so to summarize, roll the dice, choose either this one on a 2 or 3, this one on 11 or 12, this one on a 4 or 5, this one on a 9 or 10, this one on a 6, 7, 8. Perform the main action associated with it, and the main action associated with each one of these action tiles is a little different. Then you come back here, make sure that the tile you just used has been removed from the pyramid. You use the directional tiles to move the ones up from below. You fill in the bottom empty space with the one that was set aside, and you'll be ready to go for the next turn. The last thing you do is you flip this tile, the directional tile on top, you flip it so it's now pointing the other way, and you move it below so it becomes the bottom of the 2 directional tiles. Alright, so in my example, after I was done shifting tiles around, this would flip to look like this, and then this would get moved below it. But since they're identical, it doesn't really matter. Ooh, okay. So now you're actually going to see it in action. So I am going to say continue, go ahead and roll the dice, decide what you're going to do, and then I have instructed the bot to pause again so that as each one of these tiles makes an appearance, I can describe in detail how that particular tile works. So let's see what his first action is going to be. Odds are it's going to be alchemy, but who knows? Well, we got a 3, so he's going to perform a construction stone action. Okay, so how does he perform a construction stone action? He looks in the construction space and sees if he has a worker there. He does. Okay, so then he's past step 1. Step 2 is he has to have 2 stone. He does. So he's all set to go. If he either didn't have a worker in the construction action board, or he didn't have the 2 stone necessary for him to proceed, then instead he would perform a stone quarry action, which is effectively saying that if he has 1 worker on the stone quarry board, he gains 2 stone. All right? So, summarized again, a lot of these actions work similarly. For the primary action, he has to have a worker on the action board and has to have a certain amount of resources. In the case of construction, he has to have a worker on the construction board, has to have 2 stone. If he meets those criteria, he does the construction action. If he doesn't meet those 2 criteria, he checks to see if he has a worker on the stone quarry board. If he does, he takes 2 stone and that ends his turn. Well, doesn't quite end his turn, but if he does not, if he can't do this action and he can't do this action simply because he doesn't happen to have workers on those boards, then he takes the default action, which is gain 5 cocoa and power up his lowest powered worker, wherever it may be. He advances that same worker. So hopefully this won't move too quickly that we'll be able to sort of figure out what he's going to do here. But we know now he has the worker here, he has the 2 stones, so he's going to be able to do this action. So what he's going to do is take the leftmost pyramid tile. He is going to rotate it a random number of times if you want to add some spice. He's going to place it on the lowest level of the pyramid possible. So he wants to start on the bottom. He wants to get the foundation built. And he's going to score as you normally would, 1 point for the bottom, 3 for the next level up, 5 for the next level up, 7 for the next level up. And over and above that, he scores 2 victory points, which are kind of the average he might have expected to get for matching icons. He also advances 1 space on a temple track because you assume that he was able to match 1 colored icon, whether he did or not. He is going to take this tile. I can't remember if my program randomly rotates it or not. It might. And then he basically starts looking for the first empty space on the bottom row, left to right, top to bottom. So it's going to get placed here. If there were no empty spaces on the bottom row, he'd start up again and start filling in the spaces of the 9 tiles that are in the next row, the next level up, from left to right, top to bottom. If all those were filled up, then there'd be 4 more tiles on the next level up, left to right, top to bottom. And if those 4 were filled up, he'd complete the pyramid by placing the last pyramid tile, which triggers the final eclipse, I should say. If the pyramid ever gets built, the final eclipse is triggered whether or not the white has come across the black. I think you actually physically move it down there. All right, so what's he going to do? He's probably going to randomly rotate this tile. He is going to place it here. He is going to score 1 point because it's the bottom level and 2 points, and he's going to advance on the blue temple track to break the tie. That's going to give him 1 of any resource. He's all tied up there, so he's going to take a gold because gold gets priority. And finally, he is going to power up the highest powered worker that's on the construction action board. So this is going to turn into a 3. And then that worker is going to advance. Now remember, a power 1 to 3 worker advances 1 space clockwise. So this worker will get converted into a 3 and move this way. That's a description of what's about to happen. Let's see if I got it all right. Performing the construction action. He pays the 2 stone. He takes this tile. He puts it in that space. He scores 3 points. He advances on the pyramid track, just like I would. He advances on the blue track. Oh, I'm sorry. He took a stone, obviously, because he wasn't tied at that point. He'd already paid 2 stone. Whew! And then what happened to all the action tiles of his? Well, the construction moved to the top. It was, down here, and the collect masks was on the top. So masks simply filled its space, empty space. Now construction's not going to happen on this turn. He flipped the directional tile that was pointing this way. Actually, that's a bug, isn't it? It's pointing the wrong way when I hover over. The large image is pointing the wrong way, so the directional bug. I'm pretty sure the tile is right. It's just that it's displaying the wrong image up above. That was the end of his turn. So when he does some other action next time, we'll kind of try to parse what he's about to do before he actually does it. Anyway, we're now underway and it is back to my turn. It is round 2. Notice that when he completed his turn, the white disc advanced 1 space closer to the black disc. I'm the first player, he's the second player. When he finishes and completes the round, so to speak, the white disc gets advanced by 1 space. Ending a round or also ascending a worker when he dies, both of those actions cause this to advance 1 space, closer and closer to the black. What am I going to do on my second turn here? Well, okay, I do have 2 cocoa. I remember I had 4. I spent 3 of it to take this action on 8, and then I gained 1 when I bumped up on the green track. So that's why I have 2 cocoa. But that's not much. I mean, it's enough to get to come over here, but then I'll be completely out. And I do have wood. I mostly want stone here, but I can't make it to the stone board. Well, I could with this die, but that's only going to get me a point. A 1 worker over here doesn't get me any stone. It just gets me 1 victory point. So, as much as I don't really want to do it, I think I'm going to collect cocoa. So I'm going to take my power 1 worker, move them 2 spaces. By the way, you may not be able to see me clicking and dragging. My video program that records what I'm doing doesn't always pick up clicking and dragging. You may see the mouse moving, but you might not see the image of the die moving. So only when I let go are you going to see it. So I'm about to let go here on board 4. The 1 is about to show up. It's asking me, do I want to gain 4 cocoa or worship? I can't perform the main action because I don't have the 3 cocoa I need to pay for the main action. So I'm going to choose to simply gain 4 cocoa at this point. So that brings me up to 6. Plenty to work with. Okay, back to the bot's turn. So first of all, we're going to see what he's going to roll here. So he's going to be performing a worship action. Alright, what does he do when it's a worship action? He advances his worshiper to the next worship space that happens to be empty. Remember I talked about this earlier. So this guy's going to get moved over to here. He always ignores the palace. He advances on whatever track corresponds to this worship space by 2 spaces. So he's going to advance twice on the green track, getting whatever he gets for each space he advances on. So it's going to give him 1 cocoa here, and it's going to give him another cocoa when he gets to this space. And then lastly, he is going to discard this discovery tile because it does nothing for him, and instead he's going to replace it with a randomly drawn discovery tile from the deck. And that's going to be the end of his turn. So this is going to be far simpler for him. He's going to move from here to here. He is going to advance twice on the green track, collecting 2 cocoa, and then this tile is going to go away and get replaced by a randomly drawn tile. Here we go. That bumps over, advances twice on the green track, collecting 1 cocoa each time. Finally, this tile goes away and gets replaced by a new one. His board shuffles accordingly. On a 9, he would have removed the worship tile from this space. So this was pointing up and to the left, I believe. So I'm assuming the noble space was here. and moved up. The noble's tile, I should say, and then the construction tile that was set aside, yeah, took that space. So it all sort of worked the way it was supposed to. It goes by fast, but if you watch if you take the time to watch when all those tiles are flashing, you can kind of see it all happen. All right, so it's back to my turn here, and let me get back to my board. All right. So now I've got some cocoa to work with. What do I want to do next? Well, I don't want to spend a lot of time thinking about it. I would like to be sure that you see a wide variety of choices. So I'm going to take this number 2 worker from the construction board, move it 1, 2, 3 spaces to the decorations board, and perform a decoration action, which is going to be perfect right now because it's not going to cost me any cocoa. There's nobody there. So good combination of circumstances. Oh, it realizes I don't have the gold. I have to have 3 gold to perform the main action. So I can't do it. Instead, for my turn, let's cancel that. I guess if we're out of gold, let's collect some more gold. And this will be great because I'll come here. It'll cost me heavily again, 3 cocoa, because there's 3 different colors here. But I'll have 3 dice, the lowest one being a 1. So it's going to at least get me 2 gold and a cocoa. Not a bad return. So let's do that. Come here. Should get 2 gold and a cocoa. There's my cocoa. Well, that's the payment. Now the gain of 4 and 2 gold brings me to 4. Perfect. And now I can click a worker and power him up. 3 workers actually on the board, so I'm going to be able to power up twice. So do I want to make my 2 a 3 and then a 4 and then rush him to ascendancy, or do I want to keep all my guys roughly the same? Well, it's early in the game. I think I'm just going to choose to power up my 1s to a 2. So I'll power up him and I'll power up him. And now it's the bot's turn again. He's going to roll his dice. He rolled a 7, so he's doing the top action, an alchemy action. He's going to perform that action. This tile is going to get removed later. It's going to get replaced by the one below and to the right, so the nobles should move up there. And then using this directional marker, the mastery should move up here, and then the worship should come fill in the empty space. Maybe we'll take a moment to try to watch that when the time comes. But in the meantime, how does he perform the alchemy action? So first of all, he has to meet the criteria. Does he have one or more gold and at least 1 worker on the alchemy board? He has the gold. He doesn't have a worker on the alchemy board. Only a yellow neutral worker is on the alchemy board. So he's not going to be able to perform the alchemy action. So instead, he is going to simply power up his lowest powered worker on the board by 2 steps, and then stops. He doesn't do anything else. So his lowest powered worker, he's got a 2 here, a 2 here. That's a tie. Lowest powered would be this guy. He gets bumped up twice to a 4. So I think that's what's going to happen. And then the tiles are going to shift the way I expected them to. He's performing the default alchemy action. Bang, bang, bang. Great. Okay, so it all worked the way it was supposed to. The white disc moved 1 step closer to the black disc, marking the end of the Eclipse Scoring round. So far, I'm in pretty good shape. Well, we're tied on the pyramid track. He's still ahead on the Avenue of the Dead track, and he's ahead of me, of course, on all 3 of these tracks. So I need to be a little more aggressive here in what I do next. Okay, now that I do have the gold, maybe I should take a decoration action. That's going to guarantee me 3 points, plus possibly 2 more if I match icons, though I think we saw before that the only chance of matching icons was possibly 1. There was no double match out there. So I'm going to move one of my 2s up here, take the main action. It's going to cost me 3 gold to do this. Well, let me point out something. If you look at the magnified image of these decoration tiles, you notice they also have an arrow on them. So these cannot be rotated the way the pyramid tiles can be rotated. When you place these guys, they always have to be, the arrow always has to be pointing toward the center of the pyramid. So for example, I can't take this tile and flip it around so it covers up both of these spaces and I get 2 extra points. That's a no-no. This tile, because it has to get flipped around so the arrow points to the center, it's going to put the mask on top, the totem on the bottom, which is exactly the opposite of what I want. This guy is going to get flipped around and put down here. He's not going to match either of the icons. This one is going to get flipped around. He matches neither icon. I think I'm going to have to take this guy and place him here or here in order to get at least 1 extra point out of this. Yeah. All right. So let's select the double blue totem, and I'm going to place it here, and I'm going to match 1 totem. So this is showing me that I'm placing on the west side. It's actually going to get placed on this space. So I'm going to get 3 points plus 1 point for a total of 4 points. Then remember, these tiles shift. So this one's going to move up, this one's going to move up, this one's going to move up, and the empty one's going to be on the bottom. So I should end up with 4 points here. So I pay my 3 gold. I advance on the blue track because I matched a blue totem on top of any other colored totem. So I got an advancement on the blue track, which gives me 1 of any resource. And what do I want to grab here? I think I'll take a stone, so I'm as ready as I possibly can be to do another pyramid action sometime down the road. So I'll take a stone. I got my points. 4 points. I advance on the pyramid track because I'm helping to spruce up the pyramid. The tile has been put into place. These did not get refreshed. Okay, I have fixed the bug, so here I am just doing the tail end of the decorations action again, putting the same tile on the west side, getting my advancement on the blue track, and what was it? I took stone, and hopefully this time everything, I got my 6 points. Move up on the pyramid track, and there it goes. Okay, much better. So everything moved up, and the bottom space got filled. Teotihuacan's turn. What are you going to do this time? He rolls a 7, so he performs the action of the top tile, which is the noble's wood tile. So that's going to work similarly to the construction action tile, which we did at the beginning of the game. First he has to meet 2 conditions in order to do the noble's action. He has to have 2 wood, and he has to have a worker on the noble's board. He has 2 wood. He has a worker on the noble's board, so he's good. He's going to be able to perform this action. So he's going to spend 2 wood, and he's going to, because he's in we're prior to the first eclipse, he's going to place the marker, the house he's going to place the building in the first row on the highest valued space. So he's going to score 3 victory points because the building's going to get placed here. When he's all done, he is going to power up that 1 worker. The worker that's there is a 4. It's going to become a 5, and then it's going to advance. Because it's a high-valued 5, it's going to advance 2 action boards, so it should end up over here on the forest board, if I have that all correct. Let's see. Spends his 2 wood. House gets moved. He gets his, 4 points? 3 points. He advances on the Avenue of the Dead track. That advances to a 5, skips the board, and he's over there. And then all these shift around as you would expect. The white calendar disc has moved 1 step closer, obviously, because the Teotihuacan just completed its turn. And what haven't I done here? Well, I haven't gotten any technologies other than this first one, and I don't even think I've gotten my free cocoa yet, but I'm about to do it. I'm going to move this 1, 2, 3 action boards down to the technology of the Alchemy board, and that should get me a free cocoa for pass and go. And this is going to cost me, I'm only moving 1 die, so it's only going to allow me to choose from the first row. If the die was a 4 or 5, I would have been able to choose from the second row, but then I wouldn't have gotten my free power-up. But as it stands, I have 1 die of value 3. So first of all, let me get I'm going to pay a cocoa to take the main action, gain a cocoa because I passed go, so I'm going to break even there. Actually, I got the gain, and then I paid the cost. And now I get to buy a technology in this first row. Obviously, I own this one, so I can't buy it again. I don't want to give him 3 points if I don't have to. So I will grab this technology, which is good. It says every time I do a forest, stone, or gold action, I get an additional wood, stone, or gold. This is going to cost me the 1 gold that I have, and my marker is going to get placed. And of course, I get the advance on the red track because this is next to a red, so that gets me a few more VP. And now it's the bot's turn. What's he going to do this time? Roll 6, a decorations action. All right. Does he have a worker in decoration? So in order to do this, he has to have 2 gold and a worker in decorations. Well, he doesn't have a worker in decorations, so he does have the 2 gold, but he doesn't meet the criteria. So then he goes down to option number 2, which is to collect 2 gold as long as he has a worker on the gold deposit space. He does. So he's going to collect 2 gold, and he is then going to advance his worker and bump it up, power it up, and advance it. So where is he anyway? I've lost my bearings. Well, he isn't anywhere. So he's performing the decorations action. He can't do the decoration, but he can do the gold deposits. So he's going to collect 2 gold and power up this worker and advance it to this action board. Two becomes a 3, moves up. All the tiles shift around. The white disc moves a step closer, and it is my turn again. Well, I haven't done a Noble's action, and maybe it's time that I get this guy ascended, because I don't want to have to pay the higher salary for him by the time we get down to here. The white disc gets down to here. I might even have chance to ascend them twice, I'm not sure. But I am going to move this 4 worker down to the Noble's board. It's going to cost me the only 2 wood that I have. So I'm not getting a whole lot out of this, but I am getting, what was that, 3 points? 2 lousy points? It did get me an advance on the Avenue of the Dead track, though, which is important, because I can't let him stay ahead of me. So I'm going to see if I can creep back up there to at least tie him on that track or surpass him before the Eclipse Scoring comes around. Because as it stands right now, each step on this track is worth 4 points, and I don't want to give up that many points when Eclipse Scoring comes about. His turn. He rolls an 11, meaning he's going to do a construction action. He doesn't have a worker there, so he can't do it. So instead, he's going to see if he can do a stone action. He doesn't have a worker. He has a worshiper on the stone board, but not a worker, so he's not going to do the stone action. So instead, he's going to do the default action, which is gain 5 cocoa, power up the lowest worker on the board, and then move that same worker, advance it. I should point out, by the way, that when doing this action, when he's finished with his turn and doing whatever action he did, if he has 10 or more cocoa, he clears it all out and he gains 3 points. So anytime he gets to 10 cocoa, he's going to get an automatic 3 points, and his cocoa is going to get reset to 0. Default action, he gets 5 cocoa, brings him up to 7. Lowest powered worker. Okay, did that work the way it was supposed to? I wasn't watching. Yeah, he powered up the worker on the forest board from a 3 to a 4. It was lowest, and then the 4 advanced to the decorations board. Okay, so that's all good, and now it is my turn again. And I'm out of gold, I'm out of wood. But I have 2 dice over here, so I can make a huge move on the gold deposits board by moving this 5 over there. The lowest value is 2, so 3 dice, 3 workers are going to get me 2 power-ups, and I'm going to get an advance on any track and 3 gold. So that's a nice return, so I'm going to take advantage of that. It is going to cost me 2 cocoa to do that. There we go. Pay 2 cocoa to take the main action. I get an advance on any track. Maybe I should use his strategy. I would also like to get close to these tiles. So I think I am going to choose the blue track and advance that. That's going to give me 1 of any resource. So I'm going to grab a wood, because I'm out of wood. And now I'm going to get 2 gold, actually 3 gold because of the technology I have. 4 gold? Let's see, I had 3 workers again. And I had my lowest value was a 2, so I would normally have gotten 3, but I got an extra bonus gold for 4 to make it 4. So that was a great turn in terms of gold collection. That was really nice. It's nice to find those opportunities when you can get a lot of your workers together. Even better to plan to do that. So now I get 2 power-ups as a result of this because I had 3 workers. Again, I am going to hold off on ascending for now and power up my 2s and make them 3s. Okay, Bot's turn. He is performing a collect masks action. So this is when he tries to do some kind of mask collection so he can get some points for them later on during Eclipse Scoring and toward the end of the game. So he is going to look for all the masks that are available on the worship spaces, including the palace space. And so what is out there? So we have, this is not a mask, this is not a mask, this is not a mask, and this is not a mask. There are no masks to be found anywhere. Oh, there's a mask right there. I missed that guy. So that's the mask he's going to buy. Can he pay for it? Does he have... it looks like it's 2 cocoa and a gold. He's got plenty of gold. He's got plenty of cocoa, so he can't afford that mask. So he's going to pay for it. He's going to buy it and add it to his collection. If there was a tie, he would have broken the tie by choosing the mask with the lowest number. Some masks have a number 3 in the corner, indicating they're not rare at all. Some have a 2, meaning they're kind of rare, and some have a 1, meaning they're very rare. So he always wants to break the tie in favor of the mask that is the rarest, the lowest number. And should there be another tie, he then chooses the mask that is closest to the palace board in clockwise order. So he either takes the one from the from here or here, wherever, clockwise order to break any ties. But right now there's only one mask. We're going to proceed, collect masks. That is the one he's grabbing. He's paying 1 gold, 2 cocoa, and adding it to his supply, so he has a mask. So that's worth at least 1 point to him right now. The white disc gets advanced. Alright, so I'm low on cocoa again. I could come here to worship to bump up my track. I could come over here What do we have here? A point for every step on the avenue track, not good. Oh, okay, so pay a resource and a cocoa and gain as many resources as the value of the die in the worship space. If I move my 5 there, that's going to be nice. I think that's definitely what I'm going to do. Worship in the 2 space. I get a cocoa for pass and go. Now I have to pay a resource. I will pay... I'm going to collect a little of everything, so I'm just going to pay a wood for now. I pay a cocoa in addition to that. And now I get 5 resources. So I'll take 2 wood. I'll take 2 stone, so I'm in great shape as far as pyramid building is concerned. It's a little slow because of this display, but so be it. And now I have the option of paying 1 cocoa to purchase the discovery tile. This would cost me a gold, but it would immediately give me 4 more cocoa. I think that's a deal. I'm going to take that. It's a little, I hate to give up one of my gold, but I'm up to 5 gold, so I'm in good shape. So I'm going to pay the gold, pay the cocoa to collect the discovery tile, and then it's asking me, do I want to immediately use it? Yes. So it bumps me up to 5 cocoa total. All right. He's going to do a mastery action. Okay, so this is one we haven't seen yet. So he identifies his highest powered worker. He has a 3, a 4, and a 5. Well, there are no ties to break, so this is clearly his highest powered worker. And he performs the action of that board that he's on. So he's on that is on the forest board. So he's going to his forest action collects him 2 wood. So he's going to collect 2 wood. Would that be, that is what he would have gotten anyway, but we're ignoring that. You see, there's a 2 wood symbol on this little nobles tile, indicating that's what he gets as the backup action. So he's going to get 2 wood. He's going to power this guy up and ascend him. That's going to give him a bump up again on the Avenue of the Dead track. This will turn into a 1 and go to the palace board. And then he's going to, as a bonus, he's going to take 5 victory points. Here we go. Forming the forest action, collecting 2 wood. The 5 turns into a 6. That beating means he's ascending. He ascends on the Avenue of the Dead track. He collects another 5 victory points. The disc moves twice. Once because he ascended, and a second time because it was his turn. So we're now that much closer to the end of this first era. And it is my turn again. So this is all kind of happening quite quickly. Alright, so I got a locked worker up here. So maybe I should take the time to lock another worker and then unlock them on the next turn. So here I can get a temple advance, which would mean I could get a tile that would advance me again on the blue track. Here's another way to collect lots of resources. Or I could get a tile that gives me a second worker. Treats an alchemy, nobles, or construction action as if it had an additional worker present. Well, I think we'll definitely advance. So we're definitely going to worship. So do I want to pay the cocoa to do both? Because I have another one here that says when moving, you can move a second worker from the same board to the same board. So you can move basically 2 workers in tandem. So I'll pay the cocoa to grab that. And also I get my choice of which board I want to advance on. So I want to advance on the blue temple track. That's going to get me, I'm paying for the, what was the cocoa for? Oh, for doing both actions. Now I've advanced and I get a choice of discovery tile, or I can simply take the underlying action. But I am going to take the discovery tile. I'm going to just go strong on blue here. So I'm going to take the blue discovery tile. use it now to advance again on the blue track, which gets me another 2 resources of my choice. And I will take a gold and a stone. I don't think I'm going to need the wood, a lot of wood just yet, but that's, who knows, it's possible that might change. I'm going to try to squeeze in some big action before the era ends. But I also have to make sure that I don't have a 5. I don't want to have any high. Remember, I have to pay for my workers during the Eclipse scoring. 1 cocoa for each power 1 to 3 worker, 2 cocoa for each power 4 to 5 worker. And if I don't have the cocoa, for any cocoa I don't have to pay for salary, I lose 3 points. So that can be devastating. You have to make sure you're ready to go when the Eclipse scoring comes around. Alright, so now I have this discovery tile which allows me to move a second worker. My turn is done. What's the bot going to do? He's going to do the Nobles action. He does not have a worker on the Nobles board, so he's not going to be doing the Nobles action. The backup is the Forest board, but he doesn't have any workers there either. So instead, he's going to gain 5 cocoa and power up his lowest powered worker and then advance it. So, first of all, gaining 5 cocoa is going to put him up to 10, which is going to allow him to score 3 points, and the cocoa is going to get reset. His lowest powered worker is the 1, so it's going to get powered up to a 2, and it's going to advance to technology. So I think that's the way it's going to proceed. Performing the default action, 5 more cocoa. That turns into a 2, advances. Everything moves around. The 10 cocoa gets reduced to 0, and he earns 3 victory points. And then the white disc meets the black disc, telling us we have 1 more round of play before scoring occurs, before Eclipse scoring occurs. So I am going to pay 3 cocoa. I have 4 cocoa. I don't like taking that free unlock all workers for free action, so I'm going to unlock workers by paying 3 cocoa. So all my workers move off their individual worship spaces and move back into the general area of those action boards. And now I have to look for a relatively cheap action I can take, something that's not going to cost me more than 1 cocoa. Oh, okay, I know what I can do, because I was complaining that I was low on the Avenue of the Dead. I can move this guy down here, which will build me a house, get me a measly 2 points, but it will advance me 1 space on the Avenue of the Dead track, and then he'll be a 6, and I don't want him to be a 5 or a 6, a 5 right now, because it's going to cost me extra during Eclipse scoring. So clearly, he's going to come down here, and I should get 2 Avenue of the Dead bump ups because of this. Take the main action. It's not going to cost me anything. Cost me 2 wood. I gain a couple of victory points, which isn't really what's most important. Most important is that I get an increase here. I ascend, so I get another increase. I'm going to get a choice of tiles to take. Oh, boy. I'm going to take the one that allows me to power up 2 of my workers. But I don't want to do it now, because if I do it now, I'm going to be paying extra cocoa during Eclipse scoring. So I'm just going to hold on to it. So I don't want to do this now. I'm just going to hold on to it. Now I get my choice of ascendancy reward. Obviously, I need the cocoa to pay for my workers, so I'm taking 5 cocoa. And I've gotten up to his height on the Avenue of the Dead track, so I'm happy about that. Alright, he gets 1 more turn before the Eclipse scoring kicks in. He's doing another worship action, so this guy moves to the next worship space, which is here. He gets an advance on the red track, and he discards this tile and replaces it. Okay, pretty straightforward. Moves up on the red track. Moving up. Oh, it moves up on the red track twice. He moves up on the track twice, not once. He replaced this, and now it's Eclipse Scoring. Now this is going to go by kind of quickly, so I will explain it once it's all done. So we'll just let it do its thing. I didn't even see what the score was before this started. I think I was slightly ahead, right? Okay, so I'm ahead at this point, 39 to 34. So let's see what actually happened during Eclipse Scoring. First of all, you score Avenue of the Dead. The multiplier was 4, right here. So we're both on the third step, so we're both going to earn 12 points for being on the third step of the Avenue of the Dead track. Then we see who's highest on the pyramid track. Well, I'm on step 2. Because I did 2 pyramid actions. He was on step 1, he only did 1. So because I'm ahead, I get to earn a bonus 4 points. And then each of us are going to earn 4 points for the number of steps on the pyramid track. So I'm going to earn 4 times 2 or 8. He's going to earn 4 times 1 is 4. And then next we go on to mask scoring. He had 1 mask. That gives him 1 point. We have to pay our workers. He doesn't have to pay. Only I have to pay. I arranged it so I had 3 low workers, so it only cost me 3 cocoa. Remember, I took cocoa as my ascendancy reward to make sure I had plenty on hand to pay for those workers. And then the last step, because we're playing a 2-player game, these neutral players move around again to different parts of the board. And now it's round 11. Beginning of to the lead up of the second era. Now you'll notice the black discs, which started here, has been moved 1 space closer, so this is going to be a slightly faster round. Well, first of all, I can resolve this guy now that the Eclipse Scoring is done. So I'm going to power up any 2 of my workers. So I'm going to bump up a 3 to a 4 and another 3 to a 4. Okay. So now what do I want to do? Maybe I want more alchemy powers. I would like to go strong on all the powers. I don't have to remember them, fortunately. My program remembers them, so I don't have to worry about forgetting them, which is nice. And it's still early in the game, so those things accumulate over time. I don't know how much cocoa I've already collected simply by having a worker land on or pass over the palace board. I'm going to use my power 1 worker to move there. It's going to cost me 1 cocoa. 1 cocoa for the main action. If I go here, he's going to earn 3 points. A little closer. But what does this give me? This says that every time I do a forest, stone, or gold action, I also gain a cocoa and score a point. So now I'm currently getting an extra wood, a stone, or gold. Now I'm going to get an extra wood, stone, or gold, plus a cocoa, plus a point every time I do that. And I do that a fair amount. So I think I am going to let the bot score 3 points on me here. So I pay 1 gold, I get a marker, the bot jumps up from 34 to 37 points. I get an advancement on the green track, which gets me another cocoa. My worker bumps up to a 2. And that pretty much does that. So what is the bot going to do? He's going to perform the Alchemy Action. So he has a worker here. He has the 1 gold required to perform the action. He is going to put his marker on the first space that neither he nor I occupy. So he's going to put his marker up here. That gets him advance on the blue track, gets him a resource, he takes a stone, he bumps up the worker to a 3 and advances it. moves his tiles around, and the white disc advances one space, and now it's my turn. Pretty close game, 39 to 37. Let's see what I can do about pulling out ahead a little bit. Well, I've got 5 stone. That's enough stone to build 2 tiles on the bottom row, or 1 tile. Well, I don't have the wood, which scores 1 point plus 1 point for any number of matches. There is a colored guy here, so I can get another advance on the blue track, which will get me another 2 resources. That might make it worth it. All right, let's do that. And it's only going to cost me 1 cocoa. So I'm going to move down here to the construction board, pay 1 cocoa to take the action. And now very quickly find a tile I can place on the bottom row that will give me some decent number of matches. Clearly I want to place this tile because it has a blue. It means it has to be on the top. There's a mask here that would match. None of these have scrolls, and I have scrolls here, so I want to match the totem and the mask. So that basically means I've got to put it right here. Right? Yeah. Alright, so this tile's getting placed here. That's going to give me 2 matches, an extra 2 points, plus an advance on the blue track, which gives me 2 more resources. I have to pay the 2 stone to do it, advance on the blue track, collect 2 resources. I'm grabbing wood, which I'm low on. Now, incidentally, if I was able to arrange to have multiple workers here, I'm getting everything else in my power up, my movement in the pyramid track and so forth. If I was able to get 2 workers here and started off with 0 wood, but was able to collect wood as a result of my first pyramid tile placement, then I would have been able to take my second pyramid tile action, even though I didn't have the wood to begin with. So what's great about this game is you have to kind of think ahead and say, hey, oh, I can get a track advance out of this by matching a colored icon. That's going to get me some wood. Then I'll be able to do another tile placement up on maybe the 2nd floor. All right. Bot's turn. Construction action. He has no workers there. So his backup is to do a stone action. He has no workers there. So he's going to do the default action, which is simply to take 5 cocoa and power up the lowest powered worker and then advance that worker. So 5 cocoa will get him to 5. His lowest powered worker, he's got a 3 here and a 3 here. The one closest to the palace board, so that would be this one. So this is going to advance to a 4, and because it's a 4, it's going to advance 2 boards ahead. So he gets 5 cocoa. This goes to a 4 and advances over here. He shifts his tiles around, advances the white disc, back to me. Well, there's nobody on the alchemy board right now, so it wouldn't cost me any cocoa. I've got plenty of gold. Maybe I should just make another move on the alchemy board. So I'm going to move my 4 die down to the technology board. 1 die would normally allow me to choose from the first row, but because it's a 4, I'm going to be able to choose from the 2nd row. I just won't get my power up. Take the main action. I gain a cocoa. It doesn't cost me a cocoa. There was nobody here before I got here. I am going to choose this tile, which says I get a discount anytime I do a construction action, and it's treated as if I have an additional worker. So that might allow me to build multiple tiles with only 1 worker present. And I get a bump up on the red track, which gets me a point, 42 to 43. And I don't get my power up, so the 4 stays at a 4. And it is Bot's turn. Collect masks. Are there any masks anywhere for him to collect? No. 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 There are no masks for him to collect. So when he can't collect a mask, he does the default action, which is to simply gain 5 cocoa, power up his lowest worker, and advance it. That's going to get him up to 10 cocoa. He is going to get 3 points out of it. There's his 3 points. Disc moves closer, and it's 43 to 40, so it's still a close game. So I'm a little low on gold again. I've got enough stone and wood that I could possibly take a double pyramid. I could do a double pyramid action. In fact, well, moving that 4 to join this guy would allow me to do 3 tiles, but I couldn't afford 3 tiles. So maybe I should move this guy first. Or on the other hand, if I'm low on gold, I can move this guy here. A 3 with 2 dice is worth 2 gold, plus a bonus gold, plus a bonus point, plus a bonus cocoa, because of all my technologies. So I am going to go ahead and do this. Pay 1 cocoa for the main action. Gets me, pays a cocoa, gets me 3 gold. Yep. Gets me a cocoa and a point. Yep. And I get to power up 1 worker. Do I want to power up the 3 to a 4? I think I do. Alright, so much for me. Moving ahead now at a pretty good clip. Doing the worship action. Okay, where's his worshiper? It's right here. So it's going to move to here. He is going to advance twice on the blue track, which is going to get him real close to me. Boy, I thought I had a good lead here. Going to get him a bunch of different resources, and he'll flop out that discovery tile up here. Two advances. So 1 resource, he picks up a gold. Another 2 resources, he's going to grab a wood and a stone. And the discovery tile goes away with a mask, so he's ready for another mask collection action, should that ever come about. And the white disc moves closer, and it's my turn. Okay, so I have 3, 4 workers on the board, 2 over here. I also have this discovery tile I haven't used yet. Move a 2nd worker. What if I do that now? If I did that now and went here, I would only have to pay 2 gold instead of the normal 3 gold. Saves me a gold. And then could I get a decent placement out of it? Well, I basically place it here on this step. Oh, we got a scroll and a totem, totem and a scroll. This would get flipped around. I'd get 2 extra points for covering both of these. I'd get an advance on the blue track, which would give me a couple extra points. Keep me ahead of him on the blue track, which is now turning into a real race. Yeah, so let's do this. So I'm going to move my 2nd worker. I'm going to activate that tile. This is going to cost me a fair amount of cocoa, 2 cocoa. So both my dice move up, because that discovery tile simply allows you to move another worker from the same originating board to the same destination board. So now the cost of this is only going to be 2 gold to me. I get a discount because I have 2 workers. I am going to grab this totem and scroll to match this totem and scroll right here. So now we're building closer inside the pyramid because both of these have been built up. We're not on the bottom level here. So this should score me 5 points and get me an advance on the blue. and advance on the pyramid track. How many points did I score there? Match 2 icons. I got 5 points. Oh, I got 2 points from advancing on the blue track. So it was a 7-point score. Not bad. Not bad. Bot's turn. He is performing the mastery action. Okay, mastery action involves finding his highest powered worker. So he's got 3 4s. The highest powered worker is the one that is farthest away from the palace in clockwise order. So this is his highest powered worker, this 4. He is going to try to perform the decorations action. In order to do the decorations action, he's got to have a worker there. Well, obviously he does. He's doing mastery. He's got to have 2 gold on hand. He does. So he is going to place the top tile probably in this space. And it takes 3 points plus 2. So it should be a 5-point move for him. 3 points for the base decoration action, and then 2 as an average of matching 2 icons. Pays 2 gold, puts it up there. He scores 5 points, advances on the pyramid track. He's 1 step behind me, and he gets closer to me on the blue track. Because he matched the blue icon. I really need to I got to pull ahead of him on the blue track. I can't let him get past me. So I would like to do something here that involves blue track. Trouble is, I have zip in the way of cocoa. Yuck. Lousy timing. Guess I can move this guy over here and get 3 cocoa out of it. I think that's what I'm going to do. No, I'll get 4 cocoa because I'm passing the palace board. So that's not bad. Kind of a waste of a move, but what can I do? Gain 3 cocoa plus an extra for passing the palace. Back to his turn already. Oh, that was kind of a wasted turn for me. Anytime I have to collect cocoa, yuck. Okay, another decorations action. He doesn't have a guy there, so he can't do that. His alternate to the decoration is to do a gold collection, but he doesn't have a worker there. He has a worshiper there, but it doesn't count. So he's going to do the default action, which is collect 5 cocoa and move power up and move with lowest powered worker. Well, what if I moved my 5 to join my other 4s? Get another alchemy. Get another track advance. I can't get a blue track advance. Well, I could, but I'd be giving him 3 points. But maybe it's worth it. And give me 2 more resources, which could stock me up for a construction action. But if I went down here, this gives me a track advance every time I do a construction action. That's just as good, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, and he doesn't get 3 points for that. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move my 5 down here, pay 2 cocoa to take the action, and put my marker here. It's going to cost me 2 gold. Gets me an advance on the green track. Oh yeah, it gets me a tile too. So now I get an immediate advance on a track at the cost of 1 cocoa, which I have. So I'm going to advance on the blue track for sure. Yes, indeed. That gets me another 2 resources. And I think I want to get my gold back up. So let me take 2 gold. I would have liked another stone. but I'm not sure it would have helped me that much. And click a, what do I get? I have 3 dice, so I get 2 power-ups on the, no, construction board. No, I only get 1 power-up on the construction board, no matter how many workers you have present. So, do I want to ascend? I don't think so. I'm just going to power up a 4 to a 5. Okay. He's doing a construction action. He has a worker there. He has the stone. He's going to do it. He's going to rotate this randomly and place it probably here on the bottom floor and earn a handful of points. Pays 2 stone for this. What's that worth? Maybe 3 points. Gets an advance that pulls that, basically ties up. Gets an advance on the blue track for, and he's ascending, so he's advancing on the, oh wow, lots of stuff happening. The white disc is going to move twice because of this. Once for the ascendancy. He got a blue track advance, didn't he? How did he get a blue track advance? I could have sworn I thought. Increased pyramid track by 1. Increased blue temple track by 1. Oh, does he automatically? Oh, he automatically gets that every time he does a. He advances He advances 1 temple track whenever he performs a construction action. So I can't keep ahead of this guy. I can't stay far ahead, is what I want to be able to do. Now it's time for my big action. And we're about to end the, hit the Eclipse Scoring. So I'm going to make this big. And I have my discount, and I have my technology that treats it as a second worker, and I've got a guy that I can use to ascend at the same time. This is going to be big. So let's move a power 5 worker down here. Pay 1 cocoa to take the action. All right. So I get a discount, so I'm going to be able to place, and I get it treated as if I had 2 workers there instead of 1. So I'm going to be able to place 2 tiles here. So I got to make this count. And I'm going to get a discount, remember. This doesn't have any colors on it. I could match 2 spaces here. I'd like to try to get some red tracks out of this. I don't see any masks here. You can't place here. That's a tile. And none of these where I can place have masks. So I'm going to have to, I think, place here first, and then maybe I can match a mask. Maybe. This is not as good as I thought. It's too bad, because it could have been a huge move. Alright, this is going to match 2 on the first space. It's only worth 3 points. Not great. I'll take a single stone discount, so it only costs me 1 stone. I'm not going to be able to match a red mask here. But at least I'm getting ahead of him on the pyramid track, which is going to be worth 4 points. So now if I take this guy... Oh, wait a minute. There's a mask here. Oh, I've opened up a mask. I've opened up a new tile because I placed the foundational tile here. So if I rotate this twice, I get a red mask, I get a totem match, I get a scroll match, I get 3 matches and a colored match. So I'm going to get a total on the second track, second level, I'm getting 3 points plus 3 matches makes it 6 points, plus a red advance, which gets me, what, another 2 points? Yes, I'm happy with that. Cost me 2 stone and a wood. I only get the single discount. No, I don't get it twice. Advance on the red track gets me 2 points. I should get 6 points now to bring me to 62. I advance again on the pyramid track. I'm way ahead of him. And my technology allows me to advance a space on any temple track, which is definitely going to be the blue track. Oh, 4 more points, one step away from getting the bonus, which says, okay, I ascended, but what does this say? This is 2 points for every discovery tile I have in my possession. So I'm going to want to stock up on discovery tiles as much as possible. Doesn't matter whether they're used or not used. I think I need cocoa again. That's usually the case. I have to pay for my workers, so I don't have a choice. 5 cocoa. I'm going to note, by the way, so Eclipse Scoring is going to commence at the completion of the next round. It's the next to the last round. Unless you're playing the sudden death variant, which is a valid variant that's in the back of the rule book, everybody gets a round to do one extra round to do one final set of turns before the scoring kicks in, just to make it a little more, gives you a chance to get some cocoa if you need it. There was one other thing I was going to say. Oh, I was going to say that I just took the 5 cocoa reward for ascending. Just note that the rule book says 6, but the board is right. It's 5. Okay? It's 5 cocoa, not 6. So ignore what the rule book says. Okay, just wanted to make note of that. And let's see what the bot does. Does an alchemy. Okay, he does have a player here. He does have the gold necessary. He is going to have to go on a space where I am currently. He's going to give me 3 points. Can't complain about that. Pays 1 gold. Goes on the first available space. Gives me 3 points. Oh, but it does give him 2 advances on the blue track. Or no, just 1 advance on the blue track. Avenue of the Dead, because he ascended. He gets 5 more points for ascending. Oh, this is a big round for him. Okay. Let's make sure I got my 3 points. Where is he? Add player okay, here he is. Added player marker to technology number 1. Larry increased points by 3. Okay, so the score is 69 to 60. I am pulling ahead. This is my last turn before Eclipse Scoring. And I need stone and I need wood. A 1 is not going to get me much stone. So if I move my 5 and ascend him, then I won't have to pay extra for him when the Eclipse Scoring comes around. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move the 5 down here to get some wood for whatever I can get. 5 is going to get me 2 wood plus a bonus wood, plus a bonus point, plus a bonus cocoa. And I still have enough cocoa on hand. I have 4 cocoa. That should be enough to pay for my 3 workers. Just enough. I ascend. Ooh, maybe now is a good time. So I'm going to need 4 cocoa. So I can't do this option. I won't have enough cocoa to pay for my workers. So I'm going to at least do this option to get an advance. That'll lock in this bonus tile for me. Won't quite get me to the top. Is it worth not being able to pay my workers? If I spent 3 cocoa, I'd have 2 cocoa. I'd need 4. I'd lose 6 points. This is worth 6 points. It's not worth it. So I'm just going to go 1 step. I'm going to take that reward, advance on the blue track. There's nothing to get there. Here's the final turn of the era. Worship action. Oh, I don't like the sound of this. He's going to move here. He's going to get 2 advances. He's going to, oh, shoot. He's going to bump up twice to here. No. When he, oh, no. When he performs the worship action on the decorations tile, he actually gets 3 advances on the track instead of 2. Basically, he gets a little extra reward for coming all the way around to all the worship spaces. So he's going to be able to get into the top position, and only 1 player is allowed up there. So that stinks. That's going to earn him 6 points. Well, nothing much I can do. Whoa, what bad timing. Okay, 3 advances coming up. 1 gets him 4 points. The next one gets him nothing. But now another one gets him 6 points. And he steals it away from me. I can't get to the top spot of the track. And and now we're doing Eclipse Scoring, which I will refer to the log as soon as it's done. Let's see if I end up, I should come out ahead because I was ahead on the pyramid track. That should help. We were tied on the Avenue of the Dead track. Yeah, I'm ahead by, what, 9 points still. So let's take a look. This is the second of the third eclipse. Avenue of the Dead scoring, 4 points per step, because nobody's done one of these buildings recently, so it's still hanging in there at 4. So that, what are we each on the 5th step? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're each on the 5th step of the track, sorry. So we each get 20 points. It's a wash. I'm ahead on the pyramid track, so I get a bonus 4 points, and then we each get 3 points per step, so that's 12 for me, 6 for him. He still has a single mask, so he's going to get 1 point for that. I have to pay my 4 cocoa for my 3 workers. The neutral workers move around again, and now it is going to be the final short era of the game. This has moved up 1 more space, and we're in the home stretch now. So I've got a lead, I've just got to hold on to it. He's going to earn 15 points. He doesn't evaluate temple bonus tiles, so he's going to get an automatic 15 points for getting to this or passing by this space. I'm going to get 2 points for every discovery tile. So to make this worthwhile, I need to get at least 3 more discovery tiles so I can get 16 points out of it and not feel like he ripped me off. Okay, so I gotta be on a discovery tile hunt as well, and I need stone. I have no usable discovery tiles. What if I built up stone just by? I could use the green track to keep my cocoa level up. If I worship here, I could buy this, which lets me move an unlimited amount. I'm just trying to get, what I want is a lot of stone. So I'm thinking move 1 worker and then move another worker. But with this tile, I could move this worker all the way around and then get it in preparation for another construction action. I've got plenty of wood. So I'm going to come here, even though it's a dinky little move, but I'm going to worship instead. I'm not going to use it to collect stone. So it's going to give me 2 cocoa for the advance on the green track. I am going to pay 1 cocoa to do both. So I'm going to collect this tile that allows me at some point to move an unlimited distance instead of up to 3 boards. Bump on the green track gets me 2 cocoa. Gets me my tile. His turn. Hopefully that was worthwhile. What's he going to do here? Decorations. He doesn't have a worker on decorations. Does he have a worker on the gold? He does not. He's performing a default action. So he's going to get 5 cocoa. He's going to power up his lowest powered worker, and advance it. Default action. 1 becomes a 2, advances 1 board. The 10 cocoa converts into 3 points. Breaks into 3 digits. White disc advance, 106 to 100. Okay, I've got 1 worker locked up. I'm not ready to do anything with that locked up worker. I am going to move this guy all the way around to this board so that I can collect 1 lousy stone? Really? Well, I'll get a bonus stone. I'll get 2 stone. Because of my reward, I'll get an extra cocoa. Yeah, I mean, this might not be the best use of my Move Unlimited, but I am going to do it. So yes, I'm using my discovery tile to move 7 spaces. And I'm paying 2 cocoa, which is just what I have for the action. But I gain a cocoa, so it really only costs me 1. I get 2 stone and a bonus of 1 stone. Yeah, 2. Oh, 1 worker of a 4. Yeah, I was looking at the 1 here. It was a worker of a 4, which got me 2 stone, bonus 3 stone, and now the 4 is a 5. Ooh, sometimes it's easy to get confused. Okay, Bot's turn. He is collecting masks. There is a mask here. Any other masks that are around? I think that may be the only one. I think that's the one he's going to take. Oh, there was 1 down there. He pays for it. He's got 2 masks now. That's worth 3 points to him. But he didn't collect any points on that turn, so it's 107 to 100. Now, I've got a 5. I've got some stone. I've got enough stone to place 2 tiles again. I think I want to do that as much as I possibly can, so I'm going to move my 5 to the construction area. It'll be treated as if I had 2 workers. Thankfully, I don't have to pay any cocoa for the action, and I get a discount. So I'll take another stone discount, and I'll be able to place 2 tiles. I want to get some. I don't care about blue matches anymore because there's no place for me to go on the red track. So I definitely want to try to get the best value out of this guy. So I have 5 spaces where I can place him. I can either have him in the bottom corner or the top right corner. Let me rotate him twice. Oh, wait a minute, wrong mask. Oh, well, I can get 3 matches. I just can't get that red mask to match. Is there any place I can't get the red mask to match any place. So I have to give up on the red track. So at least I can get 3 matches here, matching the totem and the 2 scrolls. So that'll bump up the number of points to 6. I can't complain about that. I get a discount on stone. If I'm lucky, I can get 12 points out of this play. All right, my second placement. If I go here, if I rotate, yeah, there's 3 matches. The totem, the scroll, and the and this whatever this weird mask. That thing. Okay, so 6 points for this. Cost me 2 stone and a wood. I'll take another 6 points. Advance it on the pyramid track again. And my special, I forget, this is one I forget about, but this bonus technology tile lets me always do a temple advance every time regardless of the number of tiles placed. So it's one shot. You don't get it per tile placed. So do I want to go up on green or red? Well, let's see. This is 2 points. This is 2 cocoa. I think I want points more than cocoa. So I think I'm going to go on the red track. And now my worker's going to ascend. So maybe I do another track. Oh, I'm going to put to the 6th space up here. So what do I grab from the Discovery, the Avenue of the Dead track? This is that move second worker action again. I'm not sure if that can come in handy. But I'm not really collecting masks. I just want Discovery tiles at this point. So let me grab that. And now what bonus am I going to take for ascending? I could take another temple advance. I've got plenty of cocoa. Well, I've got enough. So my choices are going to be 2 resources, pay no cocoa for an action, or pay a gold and take 4 cocoa. That's what I did last time, I think. It was a little pricey. But I do want Discovery tiles. So I'm going to advance on the red track again, and I'm going to grab this guy. Pay 1 gold for 4 cocoa. Now I won't have to worry about cocoa for a bit. Yes. White disc advances because of the advance on the because somebody ascended. Bot's turn. He's doing a construction action. He has no workers there. So instead, does he have any workers on the stone? He does. He's going to take 2 stone. And then power up the 1 to a 2 and move it here. You can see, my computer's doing this for me, but you can see it's pretty easy to evaluate what's happening here with the solo player, so it's not too much overhead. David did a good job designing this. Alright, so now I think it's time to collect stone in preparation for my final construction action. I want to end big. And maybe I can make use of this move second worker. Maybe I should unlock this guy so I can get a double worker collection, then move again to get a triple worker collection, then move 2 workers with this, using my technology to place 3 construction tiles. Even though they're not the best tiles, I think that's probably the best move. Alright, so let's pay to unlock all workers. Pay 3 cocoa. So now I've got a worker there. Now I'm going to move this worker to join him for a stone action. Cost me 2 cocoa. And I got to make sure I have the cocoa to survive this. Oh, that could be a problem. Okay. So far, so good. That got me 2 stone. When I move this guy... Oh, I'm not going to get another... what am I going to get? With 3 workers, lowest being a 1, a point, and 3 stone. I don't have a cocoa problem. We'll have to see what happens. Let's end the turn. The bot's turn. Mastery. His best die is this 4. He's going to collect 2 wood. Nothing too much to worry about. I'm sure that's going to ascend probably before the game's out. Back to me. And now I've got a problem because I have 2 cocoa, which is exactly what I need. Am I going to gain? I'm not going to gain any additional cocoa. But I think there's enough time to collect cocoa and still do what I want to do. Let's pay 2 cocoa to get stone. I get a cocoa for my trouble because my technology tile again. Got lots of stone. 3 workers, I get 2 power-ups. If I bring the 2 to a 4 and then use him down here with using my technology 3 workers by using the smooth second worker tile, I'll get 2 power-ups. I can power up the 4 and ascend him just before the end of the game. So I'm going to power this guy up to a 4. And now it is getting really close to the end. The bot's turn. Decorations action. He's got the guy. He's got the gold. Places on the top. It's good for 5 points and an advance on the pyramid. Creeping up. He ascends as expected. That's another 5 points. Okay. Wow. With all these ascensions, okay, so I have 1 cocoa. Did I miscalculate? I need a turn. Well, he doesn't have good enough dice to ascend again. That means I've got 2 more turns, so I can collect cocoa and then do my big move. So, although I only need 1 cocoa, because nobody's down here. And when I ascend, I can always grab cocoa to pay for my workers. Let's do that. Let's, I think. Let me think. Or should I end big on the last turn? I don't think there's any way. He could get a mastery action. If he got a mastery action, he'd be doing another alchemy. I just want to be sure there's no way he can force another advance. No, he's not going to. As long as he doesn't do a nobles, he's not going to make me run out of time. So I think I'm going to move 1 guy down here just to collect cocoa for now. And bide my time. Okay. Worshipping. It's going to bring him over here. Advance on green. All right. And here we go. This is the completion of the next round. Wait, that's this round. The white encountered the black on the end of his turn. This is the last round. Yeah, I guess next round on his turn was this round. Okay. Confusing. Moving the second worker. Now I'm going to bring my 4 down with the 1. Take the main action. I got 2 dice, but with my technology, it's treated as if I have 3 workers, so I can place 3 tiles. Got lots of stone to do it. Enough wood. Oh, do I have enough wood? Oh man, I don't have enough wood. Still, I'll get a double power up and I'll be able to ascend. That's too bad. Oh, I miscalculated just a little bit. Not enough wood. Well, alright, what's my best bet? So I don't care about the blue totem. There aren't that many choices here. Not many. There are none of these masks, so this tile really doesn't do much good for me. Oh, the matches don't look great. Let's see if I rotate him. That's 2 matches, 2 matches, 2 matches. And this, if I rotate, that's 3 matches right here. Okay, let's do that first. I still have to take my stone, don't I? Either way, I'm going to run out of resources. So, because even if I take the wood, I'm paying 2 for the stone, and I'll only have enough for 1 more tile. It doesn't really matter. All right, it's good for 6 points. This may not turn out to be as good as I'd like, except for the fact that I'm going to ascend, so I might get a decent bonus out of that. It's going to leave me with 3 power 1 workers, so I'll only have to pay 3 cocoa. That's key, too. Alright, so there are only 2 places to place here, neither of which is the top tile. We're not there yet. This gets me... No, if I rotate that, that gets me 1, 2 matches here. If I rotate that here, it gets me 2 matches there. It really doesn't matter. And I don't think this gets me, well, I have a totem. If I put the totem in the top corner, actually I have 2 totems. But these round masks are of no value, so that's only 1 match. Anyway, cut it. So it's this for 2 matches here. It's worth 5 points. Run out of resources. But I do. Because I'm treating this as if I have 3 workers, I get 2 power-ups. I also get a bump on my technology, on my temple track. I guess points are what matter right now. I don't think I'm going to make it to here. I'm going to get 1 temple track. Well, unless I use my ascendancy. My ascension bonus, what does this get me? A red track expansion. I could get 2 track expansions, but I don't think it matters. Well, does it? If I go here, and then I get 2 track expansions, I won't have enough cocoa. So if I get 1 track, so if I go here now and I get 1 track advance, then I get a red, and I'm effectively getting 2 greens. But that's giving me cocoa. Maybe I will have enough cocoa. I think I'm going to go for the green. I think in the long run that might be the best bet. Okay, that gets me up to 6 cocoa. I think this is the right way to go. So we're going to power up twice. The 4 is going to a 5. The 5 is going to a 6. He ascends up to the, what is that, the 5th, 6th step? The 7th step? All right, so I've got plenty of cocoa. Well, do I? I can't, if I use this and advance on green to get the tile to, okay, I can do that. I'm going to use this. I have not enough cocoa, but I'm going to advance on green. to get the tile I need to get an extra advance. So I'm short on cocoa, but I'm due another temple advance after this. I think I need the green advance just to get up to, yeah, I got 2 advances coming, one of which has to be green, so I can get the cocoa I need to finish off. I don't think I have any other way to collect cocoa. Oh, wait a minute, all I needed was 3 cocoa, right? Oh yeah, all I needed was 3 cocoa. I only have 3 ones. I'm good. So I could use all red advances. So I'm going with the red advances for the points. Yes, indeed. So I have another one coming up. Another red for another 3 points. Okay, that's it for me. Final bot turn. Alright, he's doing decoration. He doesn't have a worker there. Gold, he doesn't have a worker there. He's just ending with a default action. Pretty anticlimactic for him. Final Eclipse Scoring. And then we'll see the final verdict. And I'll review all the scoring and the endgame scoring as well, which pretty much only involves the temple bonuses at the top of the blue track. What do we got here? I could speed this along and cancel the flashing, but oh, did I fall just short? Oh, just short of 200. 199 to 180. All right, let's review that. No, I'm pretty happy with that. Boy, I don't have a lot of experience playing against this bot, so ain't too bad as long as I did everything correctly. Avenue of the Dead scoring 4 points per step because no one was building any buildings on the Nobles track on the Nobles board this last round. I was on step 7. That's 28 points for me. He was on step 6, 24 points. Way ahead on the pyramid track. I got 4 bonus points for being the leader there. Got many more points than he did. It was 2 in the last Eclipse scoring. It's 2 points per step on the pyramid track, so that's 8 for me, 2 for him. He gets his 1 point for his mask. I pay 3 cocoa for my workers, and now he gets a few bonus points. He gets a point for every leftover resource and cocoa he has. That's 18 points. That's no small change. He gets 2 for every technology marker he's placed. That's 6 points for those. And then for the temple bonus, what did I end up with? I ended up with 9 discovery tiles total, and this gives me 2 points for each one of those discovery tiles. That is 18 points. So that's what brought me up to 199. For his reaching this tile, he just gets a flat 15. That brings him up to 180. So I more than made up for the fact that he messed me up and took the top spot on the blue track. But I think that like I said, I would have broken even there. Can't complain about this final score. I guess next time I play, I'm going to bump up the difficulty level, and I think the first place to bump up might be on the default action. Instead of his getting 3 victory points for 10 cocoa, maybe 4 or 5 would give him the edge he needs to at least close the gap a little bit. I also wonder why the bot doesn't place multiple pyramid tiles if he's got, let's say, 4 stone or more. That would help close the gap too. Maybe David didn't include that because it's a little additional. Dávid Turczi, the designer of the SOLO mode for this game, and also the brilliant designer behind Anachrony. Maybe he was just concerned about the overhead, but I don't think it's too much overhead, especially because you're just placing tiles, randomly. Not randomly, but you're just rotating them randomly, and it's pretty easy to figure out where the bot places a tile, and you don't have to worry about counting matches or anything. I don't know. I may toy with that. David, if you're watching this, have you considered allowing the bot to place multiple pyramid tiles if he had the stone to do it? Question for you. Otherwise, everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you got a lot out of this. I hope I didn't make any terrible mistakes or misinterpreted David's rules for the solo game. If I did make any mistakes, if I simply had an oversight or missed something or just blew something entirely, by all means, mention it in the comments. Again, thanks for watching, everybody. Bye for now.